What it do, niggas?
Yo. How y'all feeling?
I feel like I'm lagging.
He's frozen.
Lord, feel like you might have to do a Renee and come off that camera, bro. Not literally.
No. While I get settled. Morning.
Good morning, man.
Yeah, camera's been acting up. Internet's a little wonky right now.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get it right. How y'all doing?
Doing well.
Maintaining. Doing as well as we can communicate while we on camera.
Copy. All right, how we checking in? I had a question. Let me see if our man Josh hooked us up at all though before I jump ahead. Okay, cool. Well, this is an easy one, which is who would you want to have a dinner with in Black history? What ancestor? It changes all the time. There's a million answers, but it could be family related, someone in history, in terms of revolutionary, whatever.
Mine is easy.
Oh, you didn't even have to think? Okay, who you got?
Nah, Safo, my comrade who transitioned a few years ago. Every time, if you ask me that question, I'm gonna answer at the same time, all 80 times.
Shay. Amber, how about you?
Probably Dr. Polly Murray.
Ooh, why?
I really like her policy analysis and the different stuff that she worked on.
That's dope. For me lately, I guess it's just easy. It's been Malcolm, but I feel like I've been in conversation with him for a while in terms of his speeches and things. So I think that'd be a cool one, but it changes for me every day, anytime you ask me that question. So anywho, got the run sheet up, got some stories for us to go over. But anything else been going on in y'all's weeks organizing wise that you wanted to talk about?
Can you put it in the private chat?
Sure can. It's also always in our show description for folks in the chat. And good morning to the infamous chat. Yes, I did turn it to Renee temporarily. I can change it, but I kind of like it at this point. Whoa, I put it in the main chat, but it's for everybody anyway. So,
but I can't copy the link from the main chat.
Yeah, I got you.
You can have an agenda, but the run is for everybody. Y'all know that song, do y'all?
No.
It's well, actually, you would like that song, Amber. I don't remember who sang it, but the song goes, "You can have an old lady, who's it for everybody." I think it's Juvie or somebody like that. Juvenile.
It sounds like a Juvie song.
But you probably say stuff like that. You can have a old man, but them hoes there for everybody. It's not like something you would say. So
I would say that part.
Yeah, I've heard Amber. That's Amber. In fact, I'm pretty sure those your ancestors or those your peoples, Amber.
You're funny.
Y'all be
you seen the T.I. 50 Cent family rap beef?
Yo, first of all, I sent y'all Domani, and Domani ate.
He ate them niggas up. He said, "Firebug."
And he talking to his mama, yo, Miss Jackson. Sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, hey, I like Domani. I've been sleeping on Domani because I was like, why this nigga trying to be J. Cole? But I'm sorry, Domani. You got it. My bad.
Calling him Domani J. Cole Jr. on Threads. But I've been listening to Domani for a few years. I don't think he's trying to be J. Cole. I think this is just his general style.
Yeah.
But I also think that he approaches it a little bit different from J. Cole. I actually like Domani a little better.
Yeah. So I think
differently.
Say that again.
How's he approach it differently than Cole?
Well, go ahead, you can, Amber, because I actually gotta like.
I think his musical themes are more popular. Like they draw people in more around like my age. I think he makes music that millennials and like younger folks actually want to listen to, even though it's still kind of a more conscious rap vibe. I don't think nothing against J. Cole. I just think that they aren't like I'm gonna play this on a loop multiple times or play this in the club type of song. They're like, more deep cut type songs, and I feel like he balances both of them well.
Yeah. So here's where I I was about to say one is more genuine, but then I like struggle because J. Cole comes from Vietnam and he didn't come from T.I. being his daddy. And so some of the stuff that he do that people be like, oh, he still drive the same little Toyota, or he'll roll up on you and just start talking to you. He got the same, just like a humble rapper. And Domani gives that same energy, but Domani also comes from like really famous, 2 parents and a lot of money. And so I don't know. I that's why I just see them the same. But honestly, I heard the 50 Cent joint and I'm like, oh shit, like yo actually can snap. So if I merged them, I didn't mean to, but I was hating maybe, and I was like, damn, this nigga think he J. Cole. This is like everything he's doing is J. Cole. His persona and whatever. Never really paid attention to the rap, so I would defer to Amber's analysis.
I don't think he's doing everything that J. Cole. I think they have similar like rap styles, but J. Cole is definitely like rapping about coming from the hood and like all that shit. Domani is not rapping about that at all. Like you just said, he ain't never been poor. He doesn't rap like that. But I think he does a great job of rapping about things that people do care about.
Yeah. But so did 50 Cent do this, or is he just doing the social media goofy stuff?
Oh, he hasn't put out a single song.
You say he hasn't?
Your nigga ain't put out a single track. He's been defeated over and over again.
I can't imagine 50 rapping at this point. It's like he wasn't really that hot in the first place. So like everybody
he had many men. He had some hits.
Fans. Yeah.
Listen, everybody
I won't say he didn't have no hits. He had some hits, but he isn't on the level of T.I. from jump. Niggas who make albums beefing with themselves, I would never fucking beef with them.
But Amber
made a whole album arguing with himself. Let's be so fucking for real.
But I'm talking about lyrically. I don't think nobody except Tony Yale. I don't think 50 can out-rap anybody in his crew.
I don't think he can out-rap them. I think that he was still a good rapper. I don't think he's a good rapper now. But I do think that in his time, he was a good rapper and he still has hit songs. But T.I. has more. And T.I. is a better rapper, a better lyricist. He's from the South. He just picked the wrong motherfucker. And I just think that he could have just easily said sorry, but instead he want to go back and forth on the internet with niggas who got crash out kids. King put that nigga mama on a t-shirt. Let's be so fucking for real. People who will put your dead mama on a t-shirt and rap about it, crash outs. And then the other son put your mama house on fire in a song and rap to her about how your ancestors gotta be fed up with your bullshit. You're picking the wrong family.
I mean, that's so fire though, because it's like that's a sophisticated way of saying smoking on a Miss Jackson pat, like, and the drill niggas and but so here's something that I was just Yeah, Dino. Hey, so Molly Mall done back out. I ain't know if y'all see. You seen Molly Mall? He been performing lately and doing the social media. So
Molly
Charles,
Mall, the rapper.
well, our Molly Mall. He
Oh, I
him
don't
and
know who you're
Dino.
talking about.
You know, yeah. I'm sorry. Me and Stoner. My bad. Stoner, don't pull me into Charleston shit. I'm sorry. But yeah. Damn, I forgot what I was gonna say. See what you did, Stoner.
You the one pulled the comment up.
I know, cause she said I saw Dino in the comment. I was like, oh shit, somebody talking about Dino. I forgot what I was gonna say already about rappers. Anyway, maybe Laura could remind us. I was trying to talk about 50 cents, and here we go. So I believe, because I was in the rap a little bit, Jay-Z was my person. Jay-Z was relevant every summer because of he always made a hit, right? Yo Gotti started doing the same thing. So Yo Gotti stayed relevant.
Nick Stallion do the same thing.
Okay, maybe I don't know. That's you. I know. I ain't listen to it. But
let's be so fucking for real. She just dropped the remix on that new Juvenile song. The summer is hers for the taking.
Hey, matter of fact, Juvenile did it too. Juvenile stayed consistently every summer. And I said all that to say, those are rappers, and let's give Meg her flowers. 50 can't and didn't do that at all. He couldn't. So he had to do movies and trick shits and put social media stuff. That nigga didn't have those skills.
Is that true?
Yes.
I'm a 50 Cent. I'm pretty much a connoisseur. I don't know, right? He's a
50 fan, and then you see how when he started trying to talk about 50 Cent, his computer crashed. Signs.
That's probably honestly it is. I don't, he's like all of these folks. You realize people you're supposed to look up to are cornballs. I had a magazine for Black Enterprise with Diddy on the front. Like Sean John was a staple in my household. We all know the Black Misleadership class and how they work. Mm-hmm. But for me, he had Get Rich or Die Trying. Obviously, he had a super high peak. That was the start of it all. But just like when R. Kelly dropped Ignition and Trapped, you couldn't not turn on the radio and hear it. When who else was like that? Usher, Confessions, couldn't
That's the Miami
turn
shit.
on the radio and not hear it. So if 50 dropped Get Rich or Die Trying, you could not hear PIMP. You couldn't not hear in the club. I don't know, man.
I think you're not considering the Milky Way path he took to celebrityism, right? Mm-hmm. Don't act like Eminem didn't make 50 hotter than he really was. So by the time that 50 songs been coming out, listen to what I'm saying. 50 songs been coming out. This nigga been going straight to the white charts. Candy shop and stuff. What I'm saying by summers, Jay-Z and all the people we just named, they had hits every summer that even the white people ain't been on yet. All 50 shit went straight to the white people. So all them sales and now after How to Rob, white people never heard How to Rob. Whoever heard?
I was gonna say, but yeah, there's the DJ Who Kid days, there's all the mixtapes in Brooklyn. I don't know, wasn't he a huge part of the mixtape culture? I don't think it's fair to say it was all M, because M was just a young white avatar. I love that episode.
Uncle Murder is nicer than 50, bro.
Sure, I mean, there's a lot of niggas nicer than other niggas if we're gonna do that. But my whole thing was, it was Dre though. Dre was the one with Shady Aftermath and all of that. If you want to use the young white avatar and say Eminem put his touches on it, sure. But I wasn't listening to 50 because of Eminem. That's how white people might have found him. But I was always like, damn, this man Eminem's annoying. I got 50 rap. I was always like, who's this Eminem?
I think this just shows the difference in how they play music in Florida, Miami area versus like the South, North, DMV area, because I never heard none of that shit on the radio. They was not playing 50 Cent. They wasn't playing a nigga in the club.
Yeah.
They weren't.
And then if 50 Cent was to take his happy behind and G unit on the verses, and they'd go against like the Locks or D Block or anybody like that, the same shit that happened to Cameron and them would have been worse than 50. It would have been even worse. Cause
Sure. I mean, I'm just saying, and then after that was obviously his peak, and y'all can say all of that, but then I have this. So
Man, okay.
I got a classic for real. So I'm fine.
In fact,
but that's it.
Listen, How to Rob actually cemented his trajectory on his whole career. He talked about robbing rich niggas, and his whole career was centered around trying to kick beef with other rap niggas.
Yeah, that was the gimmick. I mean, they all have a gimmick, no? They all have a gimmick.
That gimmick is trash. That tell me you can't
rap.
Jay's
gimmick is trash. Like all the gimmicks are trash. All my heroes are cornballs. Geechee, JPEG, who made that amazing album title, is also a cornball. I get it. I'm just he's been beefing forever. Like that's been his whole thing, and it's funny and it gives us content, but it's also very immature, very patriarchal, very insecure, and that's how come we got generational shit where someone's kids are beefing with this old man. Like, bro, give it to your son. I'll never forget.
Started it.
Tekashi 69's corny ass was like,
so he started it.
To Game, like, bro, aren't you 40? Go raise your kids. And that's still the funniest thing ever. I feel young people can tell an older rapper. I think it's hilarious because 50's son, who he's in an estranged relationship with, is older than Domani, I'm pretty sure. So, hey, man.
I'm so happy.
Oh, you like your doctor? You're doctor the DJ.
That's wrong.
Listen to the DJ.
Listen, I'm so happy God is cruising here because I would love to hear her take on this. But listen, 50 just he didn't cut it, bro. Like it was and Jay-Z, at least his gimmick was he actually adjusts to the audience. He dumbed down his music for the double his dollar. At least he's like he can flow and he can tell you that he's adjusting or whatever. Now all of it is trash. We agree. Mm-hmm. But 50, that shouldn't even be in the conversation. And the fact that he's here today and a rapper who's 17 times better than him, son, said go sit down. Like, bro, you just need to quit, bro.
Can we play this or they gonna flag us?
I don't know.
I think they're gonna flag us, and we just got our money back, so we best.
What are the bars though? Like, what's the big reveals? What are you going at 50 about?
Well, I don't know.
You know what? No, we can do Geechee. Deontay Cal made a video and he's talking through it. We can play that.
Hold on, that's really gonna get us flagged because Deontay got copyright and all this stuff. Maybe we could just play a little clip,
it's on Instagram now.
Yeah, I think it'd be fine. But whatever y'all want to do,
I'll play a little tiny clip.
We'll do a little bit. We also have a special guest piece to the chat coming in later, so stay tuned for that. We might have a little bit of remix overtime today.
Oh, T.I. cleared it. Never mind. Because T.I. definitely is not, but I agree with
oh no! See, this is what I mean. This is unk shit, bro. If this is true, Keontae, if this is true, this is what I'm talking about. If this started because of a versus,
it did start because of a versus.
The same pandemic shit we saw where unks were about to fight.
It started because of a versus because 50 Cent agreed to the versus. And then like just ghosted him or like just didn't do it. And then when he brought it up, he started talking about his wife and posting unflattering pictures of her. Instead of just saying he didn't want to do the verses or being like, nah, I can't do it or apologizing, the nigga just started throwing jabs. What did he think was gonna happen?
Wait, 50 started posting pictures of T.I.'s wife, of Tiny?
Yes. AI pictures. See, that's his whole career, man.
Yeah, he did it with Ross and Ross's BM. That's his whole game. I'm not denying who he is. I've come to terms with that a long time ago. I just enjoy parts of the music.
Now that I think about it, Benny Man was probably written for him and he was reading it because there ain't even no flow in there. He raps so slow.
I think he wrote.
Go and get your refund, nigga. I ain't dead. Wait, what are we talking about?
Okay, I pulled it up and I'm gonna try to skip to the part where he actually starts rapping because it says an intro for a while.
Word.
Miss Jackson, am I overreacting or is it valid? I wanna have a one-on-one convo about the man you sacrificed your life for so the world could see his talent. He's a legend now, I guess it worked out, but I need some answers. Are you happy with the way he been holding your family name? I need to know cause I can't sleep at night thinking you died in vain. I think it got to him. People won't tell him because he pay him. The emperor's new clothes to tell, we need to tell.
People won't tell him because they pay him.
Because he pay him.
Woo! That shit, he was hidden.
Failed too many times from shells or either jail. Cats got 9 lives, one more will ring the bell, and I don't want to do it. Reason I came to you, I'm hoping you could talk me through it. Maybe it's something that you could tell me.
Ring the bell.
He said, "Cats got 9 lives, one more will ring the bell, and I don't want to do it."
Listen, man. All right, man. Clifford B. Harris.
I'm trying to. Where's the shots at 50 though? This is. I mean, this battle rap.
Our shots at 50. You are you listening? They won't tell him the truth because he pay them. He's talking to his ancestors, saying, "Hey, your son tripping."
You can't be proud of to do what this dumb nigga doing today. Like you gotta be talk to this nigga. Nobody else can talk to him because he keep paying them niggas off.
Whisper in that nigga ear.
I hear you. I'm not listening though. Let me tap in.
Bring some understanding. I'm more level-headed than the people headed to his mansion. I hope you know it's time sensitive. I think he really was a little confused.
I hope you know it's time sensitive because I'm more
level-headed than the people headed to his mansion.
He said, "My brother crashed out. I'm just trying to help you."
I got you.
50 gone, man. Put that man to sleep.
I mean, 50's not going to respond, so that's why I'm like, okay.
He can't.
He doesn't rap. Yeah, this is not a, that's...
No, say he can't. Say it. I need you to say it. He can't.
He's Tyson fighting Jake Paul. Like, what you want me to say? Man, they put a track together. How long?
Let's go back then. In 50's prime, can he respond?
Absolutely.
No.
Yeah, that's the question.
You're a liar.
Y'all some hippie.
Listen,
y'all like that flow.
All the beef Lloyd Banks that had with 50. You think he's gonna get Lloyd Banks to come in the studio and write something for him to respond? That shit is not gonna happen.
I don't know. I don't think he would necessarily have Lloyd Banks do it.
That's the only way he's gonna be able to respond.
At that mogul level,
Brittany said, "What have I walked into?" Brittany, we're playing the diss record for Lori because he doesn't understand that T.I.'s entire family is dissing 50 Cent right now, and 50 Cent getting his ass whipped, and he's trying to stand up for him, but 50 can't stand up for himself.
I just said this isn't gonna be a fight because 50 doesn't beef through rap anymore. That's why I was thinking it was gonna be some personal stuff. Like I heard on the set of Power, you ain't paying niggas.
I mean, we're getting there. Can we get to? Okay. Can we get
all right. That's what I'm here for. That's the beef that I know.
But I won't mention it. Part of me, if I'm digging it, hate to have you reliving it. You supposed to be resting. But just a few questions. Do you whisper in his ear before he makes the decisions? Can he hear you past the nervous laugh he do when he timid? And is he really happy? Talent took the basic and gimmicks led to the actual business. He used to be something. We thought it was a joke, but now we see it's something awful him.
All I'm saying is, when the hoodoo niggas start talking, I don't know. He was eating that up.
Listen, the only thing Domani lied about in that verse is when he said he used to be something. He was mid. He should have said he was mid. He used to be mid.
Do you whisper in his ear before he make a decision? She not. He not listening. Something ain't happening. This should get better. Let's keep going.
Ain't nobody feeling
offer him a chance to reunite with you, and I'll do it. Nothing left to do, so I just send him to you, Miss Jackson.
Hold on. Somebody asked, "What is the burning house?" Maggie asks, "What does the burning house art mean?" That's his mama's apartment that was on fire. That somebody set on fire.
50's mama?
His baby mama, the baby mama and the son.
Oh wow. Okay, see, that's what I'm talking about. Y'all missing the.
I mean, you gotta get the whole thing in. You up there trying to defend 50?
I'm not trying to defend this. I'm a historical materialist. Listen, I'm not defending 50 at all. I'm just pointing out he did have a run. Like, we're not gonna lie. And I'm interested.
I'm not saying he didn't have no run, but he can't fight back.
Yeah, of course not. You said the question was if with 50 in his prime been able to respond, and then people already talking about Lloyd Banks would have been involved and that kind of thing. And obviously, I just know 50's not treated the people around him well. I also know he had people who couldn't rap on this shit, like Young Buck and Tony Yayo. So
wait. You said couldn't do what?
Couldn't rap.
You said Buck can't rap. Don't let
him
talk about your Memphis people like that. Don't let him do that.
He a fucking hater. And Tony Yayo, like, come on now.
Yayo's terrible.
They was playing 50 in the club. I ain't never been to a club playing 50 that didn't have a whole bunch of white people in it. So you got it.
Yes, Buck is better than Yale. Yale, I don't count that. That don't even count.
I was gonna say, okay, because I'm
they had Uncle Murder instead of Yale. They cousins or friends, whatever they do.
Sure, whatever you want to say. Yale was terrible.
You losing support, Lord. See, I was on your side, Lord. At first, you losing him. You losing him.
Hey, listen, man. He 25 cents. He gonna be 25 cents after this episode.
It's over for you.
I'm A-okay. Listen, I've been let this nigga go. That's what I'm saying. I met his son in real life, like actually doing community work. Like, I don't care about this dude.
Really?
Yeah, he's a cool kid. They got, trauma and stuff. They need a few men's circles. But
search on my whole family. Hey Curtis, I encourage you to do a little research on my whole family, but you can start with me first. I know you're not familiar with a mother or a father. Maybe that's the reason easily you'll talk about them. Maybe that's the reason you be targeting the women. Let somebody try your mama, bet you probably want to kill them. Speak.
That's real. 50's mom was murdered, so that's also.
Maybe not familiar with a mother or father.
Yeah, critique.
He's not a father.
Yeah. It's a relevant critique.
It's getting better. Hold on.
Speaking of killing Curtis, I heard you was a firebug. Well, I'ma be the reason all your fans put their lighters up. Put your lighters up if you've dealt with abuse. Put your lighters up if you no longer enthused with a nigga running around profiting off our pain. Love it when we fall down, that's when Curtis gets paid. Now put your lighters up if you too want the truth. Many men sin but don't profit like you from it. You don't even drink but you'll fake it for the news coverage.
That's real.
Listen,
that effing vodka. He will sell the drugs.
Not only is he shredding this dude, he's actually telling the story that this dude keeps trying to suppress. The story of his child's mother, the story of his child that you met. And listen, man, surgical. Sorry.
You profit off people's pain with them damn TV shows. You don't even drink, but don't pretend. He is shredding this nigga up. Chopping him, slicing and dicing him. It's getting ready.
Yeah, well, I mean, okay. I'll get into our medical critique. Let's finish up. I'm cool with the win for the youngin.
Seem like you know 50 Cent more than you know you, Curtis. Goddamn. I think you went too far to stop now. I got a little more information you could jot down. Firebug, I could still smell the gasoline on you. Firebug, at least let them sleep before you cremate them. Firebug, ironic, you not hot as what you used to be. Firebug, and I'm the one delivering your eulogy. Firebug, don't let them put his light up. The next time you...
I'm the one delivering your eulogy. Did it for me. I'm sorry. I know. Y'all get my dog excited too.
Firebug
was a good one. I ain't gonna hold you.
How old is Domani?
He's my age. He's not 30. He's like a little under that. Like
late 20s. Cool.
I met an old soul though.
Mm-hmm.
Missing mama, I could send you right to her. Try your luck. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson.
Sorry, Miss Jackson. Pay homage to them boys over there in ATLians. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, he did it.
Word.
I mean, your boy kind of done for him. I'm sorry. I hate it for you.
Now he's my voice. Crazy.
Now he gonna be talking about Floyd and saying Floyd ain't got no money. That's why Floyd got to go back and he get some fight and all this other stuff.
Like, what is that for?
The Floyd stuff is already. This is my thing. Is like, again, 50 hasn't laid a track down in forever, but I'll give you $50,000 to the ALSSL bucket challenge if you can read one page from a Harry Potter book, nigga. That's funny.
But they ain't gonna work on them. They already have obliterated that nigga. That will work on them.
Look, yeah, I'm cool.
Yeah, we forget about that. You put them hands on them.
Oh, I he said they say I had two black guys. That's funny too. These are funny guys. They're entertainers, no question.
I just really appreciate that the diss is, it's very full spectrum. It's whole. It's all sides. You know, first you had the older family man rapper pulling in saying, "Hey, I actually don't need to glorify all that other shit I did. I'm a family man now. I got children, and that's really what you should be respecting." Then you got the crash out son speaking on your dead mama name with her on a t-shirt. Then you got the intellectual son talking about your mama as your ancestor, asking if she whispered in your fucking ear because you're acting a fool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They ate him up.
Yeah, it's light work. Hey, they all need, these people all need haters. And my bad on the young buck. Wasn't my cup of tea, but I don't want to again.
Hey, get him, Buck.
Go after the workers on the G Unit label because they're the ones who probably
Which
got
is
the worst.
insane because how you not a young Buck fan, but you listen to 50 Cent in the club?
Well, that's a hit. So this was someone already pointed this out, but the whole thing about a versus with T.I. would be it's about hit for hit, not about skill in that sense. So I would just be like, yeah, I just listen to it. Who got the more hits? Is
and
whatever
then
you like.
And play Mini Man.
T.I.M.P.
What else does he got?
No. Hit again.
What I'm saying, like it would just be.
But hits can mean sold through white streams, or hits can mean really resonate with the people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but we know that line.
I too was a fan of Kenny.
I'm saying, like, if you the people who are gonna be at a versus is not gonna be on white people. The people gonna be at versus most of us. And so, for instance, they might not pay. Like Juvie got some shit that'll play that white people will be like, I ain't never heard that. But if you play it for black people, that shit gonna go up, right? So hits could be the black hits, and what I'm trying to say is that boy ain't even gonna compare to T.I. with black or white hits.
I guess they should have just done the verses. Then we could be having that conversation. The one thing I did want to add is similar to the Kendrick and Drake beef, though. Then I come back to like, what is this about, or what do you claim it's about? Not really egos between these two rich problematic niggas. But you know, the main thing was white people never heard of Doobie Rock. Yeah, I mean, we know the difference between white famous and black famous. But what I was gonna say is,
I
gotta let my dog out. I'll be right back.
All right, what were you trying to show? I'm sorry, Geechee.
No, I was trying to pull it back, but I didn't know you was clicking it.
No, you good. I mean, T.I. and Tiny got a weird case.
Worse.
Well, they're around.
Yeah.
They got multiple cases. So again, right?
Domani don't though, because Domani was doing the rapping in this video. We're not really talking.
But your dad is okay, but it'll be like Diddy's son doing rap beef for Diddy. Like Sean Combs Jr. can't go. So that's not how this works. Is my whole thing. You gotta.
Lord said Baka got a weird case. Why is he around?
I mean, Kendrick gave us that.
That's so hard.
The whole time, because truly they have, and it's not a case. It's multiple cases of kidnapping, drugging, and assaulting women by T.I. and Tiny, right? So if 50 had done,
why 50 ain't get in the booth and say that?
That's because we already know. We already know because these people run impacts. They are predators or predatory. So 50 might not have the same record and pathologies as Diddy.
I just feel like if Kendrick can do it, 50 could have did the shit too.
Nah, because 50. My thing is,
right. A minor. I don't know.
But people don't. Yeah, I agree. Because I think Kendrick knows not about his camp, not about the fact that he brought out Dre. All these other contradictions involved in this shit are huge and problematic. But I think Kendrick knows that there's nothing going to come out about him being around little girls. Maybe. Now, you never know with niggas. But I think Kendrick knows that's safe for him. So he'll say something that won't get him in trouble. I feel like if 50 were to accuse T.I. of a lot of stuff, it could blow back on him. Because that's what I think is the same with Democrats and Republicans. They won't accuse each other of stuff. They're like, ooh, shit, if we open this door, then the Republicans might reveal some dirt and then we in trouble. So I think 50 probably has some skeletons in his closet. There's probably some information out there. And that's why he doesn't want to go too crazy on T.I. about those cases. Because he's been grimy and will go super detailed on people's life about all sorts of things. So that's why I'm like, yeah, you're not going to talk about the sex assault cases and all
you're
that.
saying Domani is cannon fodder for his daddy. That's what you're trying to say.
No, I'm saying your daddy's setting you up to get this you'd down the line. Like, I don't like when I make a rap and then someone can quote my shit back at me about my life. Like, that would not be, very player. So
not very player.
That's how I feel. But shout out to Youngin. I love Young versus Old. I do like the style of rap, that slow roast, that expose type rap that he did. So that was pretty dope. And yeah, I agree. 50 has not produced much of a catalog since the Kanye beef that he technically lost, but said he won because he had international sales or whatever, which is, as you were saying again, Geechee, the white pipeline. You're performing in Italy and they 10 years behind on the music. And that's he's selling that. I know
he took the Milky Way.
I know yes,
I don't know why he acting like that, bro.
I know. It's true. Oh man. That was a good warm up. Thanks for introducing me to that, y'all, because I was not paying attention.
You need to go back and re-listen.
I'm going to.
And we can discuss again.
You are.
I think you're missing vital points.
I probably.
50 is still a great diss track. 50 is still a below average rapper.
I mean, listen, the facts are the facts.
Hey man,
I don't know what to tell y'all.
As someone said, like he's a landlord now. It's the same critique of Dave Chappelle and all them. Like my point, and this came up last night during our mass call. Well, we got wait, hold on. I'm sorry. What was that?
That was just the
That's what we got. Yeah,
old ass niggas.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. They grown. These men have kids that are me and Amber's age. Like, guys, this is grown men beefing like teenagers. And they've all done very, very horrible capitalism.
I agree with Amber. Exactly, Sadiq. Because I know what the fuck I'm talking about. One thing about it, I might not know all the music, but the shit I do know, I can put a thesis out on. And one thing for sure, I know my rap. And 50's lame.
Yeah, I know 50's. I remember when 50 backed George Bush, for not raising his back.
I agree, God, it's true. Rap is a sport. And them niggas ain't reaching the finish line right now.
My brother would hate that. He hates that rap compared to sports thing, but I get the idea.
He backed Bush. I missed that part.
How old is rap? At least 70 now, right? Wasn't that they were trying to do an anniversary in hip hop, or
it was his 50th anniversary.
50th. Sorry, 70s.
That's a serious question, Amber.
No, I'm serious though. Yeah, so 50 was what they were trying to say. Yeah, 50 years or something. So if the youngest rappers were like 14, 15 when it started, now they're in their 60s. Oh, this is So that's who I aim my critiques at, a lot of them. And we already know, some are landlords now, like 50. Some play cops in shows like Ice Cube and Ice-T. Some are, we know kingpins, unfortunately, like Diddy. So we just got to see how they age. And some are informants or tap dancing for the cops, like KRS-One and Heavy D. So... Wait, was it Heavy? Chuck D?
Chuck D. I'm about to say Heavy D. What dog do? Like what? Wait.
Gotta get it correct.
Nothing but love for you, baby.
Yeah. So I got it right. I'll get it right.
What Chub Rock or
the musical misleadership class. I like it, but that's the era we live in. Like those classes have fused in a lot of ways. But I'm with y'all. Listen, I love hate. Y'all understand that about me. So any hate for 50, I'm saying, just expose them.
What you want to ask me?
If a nigga walk up to you and say, clickety clank, clickety clank, my money goes straight to my piggy bank, what you gonna say to him? Because that's 50 songs. I mean, as a shadow.
Is he gonna say it with that New York accent and that little slur?
And he goes straight
with a little bop. Is he going?
No, what are we talking about? Like
with the hat back.
This nigga need to stop.
I'm gonna look at them like they're crazy.
Hey, that's 50 raps right there. That's his raps. That's his best that he got right there.
Stono said Amber has definitely put me on some decent artists on here. Exactly. You're welcome. And I'm going to see Mona Leo next week. And I got the VIP very important Pimp Sense package. And I can't wait. It's gonna be great.
Let's get off 50, man. We've been on 50.
Yeah. We can do our Southern rap because I mean T.I., weird case and all of that.
I don't know. It's so much fun to be on his head.
There's we had Ludacris. We had a lot of talent down here, so I'm not, but T.I. had his run.
Ludacris is in Georgia. Okay, we'll let you claim that one.
Of course. What you mean? He's not. Wait. Hey, I'm not, because we're about to get into this. Florida is the South thing, especially. Yeah, you got me with the bait. We're gonna talk about it.
I thought somebody said that Amber admitted Florida was. I wasn't saying they wasn't the South. I was just saying they play different shit.
Okay.
It was crazy though.
Florida Club was different when I went. I was like, this is a different experience. It feels more so targeted towards white people.
Listen, Lord skipped over the mall cop Rick Ross, the one who put him on Trick Daddy,
corrections officer,
AT Money, and he jumped all across the state line to say Ludacris.
Oh, I wasn't. We were talking about my Florida people. I didn't know that was the case. I was just mentioning. I was actually sticking with T.I. is from. I wasn't coming to my region.
You know, y'all got some hitters down there.
Of course.
Kodak,
yes, exactly. Speaking of the most problematic.
Barely.
Kodak Burley? Okay, man.
I definitely never said Florida was not the South. I just think that they definitely have different musical tastes. My experience when I went down there, actually, when I was there, I don't know if you worked there yet, Lord, but I went to the B&B Juneteenth picnic in like 2021 barbecue thing or whatever, and that showed me that like the music is different.
TR Flow Pop Shop, man. Listen, we do need to do a classical breakdown of Charleston music because our rappers ain't never really made it because they ain't had learned that the shit you supposed to be rapping about, you ain't supposed to be doing it at the same time now. So
yeah,
we ain't never really get up there. Listen, one time one of our best rappers named Dino, I'm sorry, not one of the best, but a great rapper, Pacino Dino. He went to jail for some stuff he did. And been locked down for, I don't know, 6-7 years, and get home, had a home release party, and shoot somebody up and went right back to jail.
Yeesh.
I said, God damn, we ain't gonna never get off this damn
plantation.
That's how they get us.
The best rapper we got, them boy. Anyway, so yeah, we got a lot of them boys.
He should have been on his Fetty Wap type shit. The nigga came out of jail looking good as fuck, doing shows, got new outfits. I said, okay, Fetty with the 2-piece. How many 2 pieces do you own? It don't matter. He not going back to jail. I know that much. And we all on talk shows last week. He getting his whole little persona together.
We almost had one from South Carolina in general, but you know, Charlamagne messed that deal up. Little Rue, y'all know Little Rue?
No, why would we know that?
Y'all know Little Rue, the nasty song. Everybody know that nasty song.
Here come another nasty song.
Yeah, that's Little Rue. He from Columbia. He was gonna make it, and Charlamagne jerked the deal.
You're lying.
I promise you, man. That dude is a monster.
Here come another nasty song. That's him.
Little Rue. Yeah, Little Rue.
I have never heard anything other than that part. Song with no panties on, and then they like switched into the song. So I've never actually heard the full song.
Yeah, that song made it in the little ethers all with it, but he never got.
Is he making any money off of it? Because they be using that shit in all kind of mixes. This is why I need to be a DJ. I just feel like my musical prowess would be so great. I also quit the choir yesterday, so I got more free time.
Oh, what happened? Well, that's another. We gotta break that down.
I just don't want to do it no more. You know one thing about me. If I want to do some shit, I'm not going to do it. I think that people stay in things longer than they should. Relationships, jobs, hobbies, situations. I don't want to do that shit no more.
I don't know. Slow down. With all efforts, with couples therapy, other therapy, and whatever, would you still say people stay in? Because sometimes I think people just be quitting because they don't want to work on themselves. So
sometimes they do, but sometimes people really do just stay in stuff for too long.
Yeah, I get you.
But they more so stay in, I feel like people stay in situations, not relationships, but like just things that they're doing. Like they'll do something for longer than they really want to, like jobs, or even like, even simple shit like staying with your family. Like I know people who have like kept relationships with family members. They really should have cut off a long time ago, but they just kept them going because it just seems like the right thing to do. And I kept going to the choir because it seemed like the right thing to do. And I was like, I don't really want to do that shit no more. So I quit. Yeah. And then they was like, we just think that you just want to quit because it's challenging. I said, yeah, exactly. And I don't want a challenge. How about that? Now what?
So look, I don't know what time we get into our guest, but my sister made me think of some stuff in Charleston, and one thing that we had to talk about was going to remind me to that. So I wonder if we can get to that before we switch. It was the newscaster who kept pulling the mic from the man because he kept saying some shit.
Yeah, well, actually, our guest is down to join us as a host.
Oh, well, that's even better.
Let's
we didn't
go
agree to
ahead
all that. Y'all always doing shit.
up. Welcome to the stage, Comrade Musa. Musa, you want to introduce yourself for the people?
Hey, peace, y'all. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
Alaikum salam.
Yes, happy Ramadan, y'all. My name is Musa, journalist, community organizer, cultural worker, longtime 50 Cent hater, although I'm very hypocritical because Many Men is probably at the top of my gym playlist. Like, I'm very hypocritical, but I had not heard that diss track until this morning, so I appreciate y'all playing that because one, clearly J. Cole got some sons. Two,
Yes.
let's start there. But two, he was actually really spitting. I was actually thoroughly surprised. I didn't know.
He on like his second album. Like Domani actually been out for a while. I've seen him at 2 music festivals. He's been on like 2-3 tours. He actually has been really successful. He's the most successful right now out of all the sons trying to do little rap careers.
Listen,
But how you that successful and you from Atlanta, but you don't got no motion in Atlanta because I ain't never heard nobody.
I actually went to an event he had in Atlanta and it was packed out. I think that he has a target audience. I think that's what the thing is. I noticed that pretty quickly. It's really my age group, not super young. I would say like 24, 25 and up. It's a specific age group of people that listen to him, like 24 to like 34-ish. And that's all I saw at that event. And that shit was packed out. And I've gone to 2 things. He had an event in Nashville, of all places, full of Black people, full of millennials. And he had an event in Atlanta, and it was full of Black people, mostly women, but they were all around like my age. So he definitely has a core fan base. I just think it's not like it's not a Gen X or Gen Z.
Amber, I'm gonna give him a chance, but I have a no nepo baby rule in my hip hop. So like in music, like I don't listen to what's Jaden, Willow Smith, anyone who's you don't have nothing to actually talk about.
He only had 1 or 2 really good songs though.
Willow had a tape that was kind of that psych funk tape was kind of.
I'm good. No nepo baby. No, I'm good.
So I think Musa
the nepo baby rule is strict though.
No, but I think you just gave me language to what I was subconsciously doing because I was like, I am not about to take that dude serious. And why the fuck he's trying to act like J. Cole when his daddy T.I.? I was like, I'm not.
Well, so that's
because his other son acting like the daddy. And I also think Domani was always like that. I don't know if y'all watched the show because I grew up watching the show. Domani and Messiah, who got the different mama, they got a different mama.
Or the cart.
The mama is like that. The mama is like a intellectual kind of hoodoo type. So they act like the mama. I think that's what it is. Because the other lady, Tiny, that's King mama, they act similar. I don't think that's what it is. But he's been rapping for a minute. Like, he's been rapping for probably some years now. Because, I mean, I saw him in Nashville like 2 years ago. And then I saw him before that at like an event. And I saw him last year at an Atlanta thing. I also think that he definitely is on a J. Cole tip type of vibe. But he's not really rapping about like I said earlier, he's not rapping about being poor. He's just rapping about like his type of like relationship style. Like what he looks for in partners, like what dating's been like. I think that
that's what Cole rap about though. So I was gonna say, Geechee, you revealed my subconscious bias, which is I don't fuck with Cole. So I don't really fuck when I heard it, I was already on the damn falling asleep. But I listened. And yeah, he got some sons. It's interesting the Nepo baby rule, Musa, because a lot of them they're creative, so they get to take their influence from kind of whoever, people they might just randomly be around. But I even know Lonzo Ball, everyone joked about that shit sounding like an NBA 2K track that I might swerve in that corner, like that shit.
And they put that shit on NBA 2K.
So, I mean, the people I grew up listening to are now the old heads, the Jay-Z's of this generation. So obviously we're going to see that. But in terms of who that attracts, yes, I'm not surprised he's attracting old niggas. No offense to us in terms of his music. He's not attracting his old age group because he's copying somebody the millennials like listening to, and they about to give Cole all their money for this. I'm the hardest mulatto rapping album he's just dropped. But hey,
I think maybe I just when Cole came on Jay-Z's Every Day a Star Is Born and you heard him, I think I just kind of like stayed with like, yo, he can rap. But and maybe it's Jay-Z fault, but I think Cole is all right now. He, I wouldn't throw him in the trash.
Yeah, I think people get rich and they just run out of stuff to talk about. So you can be very talented. J. Cole is extremely lyrical. Like no one's gonna deny he can flow on any beat. It's just like you clearly
struggle a little longer.
Yeah, you need to go back to a little struggle. He had one song I liked on his last album where he was kind of confessing that he had a friend who was gay who they shunned for many years, and then that friend died, so he felt bad about it. So like that was all right. Some storytelling going on, but for the most part, I'm good. Also, y'all had said earlier, 50 hasn't cut a track in forever. Funny enough, he was on Nicki Minaj's last album, and it was literally one of the worst verses of his entire career. Yeah. It didn't even rhyme. He was off beat. Yeah. It sounded like he recorded it on an iPhone 5. Like it was.
She didn't realize he on crack. So
they're a match made in heaven, obviously. But yeah, so even his last verse that he actually did record is career embarrassment for sure.
I'm with it. I just want to drag other people down. So I will add on to that by saying everybody else's fave. Nas also had an album, and 50 Cent was on a Nas track. And so when they do that at New York, what happened? And it was terrible, by the way. They both were.
I mean, Nas is extremely overrated, bro.
I know.
But I haven't liked Nas since that song he made that Lauryn Hill was featured on that the album he made before this last one. No, there was another one. The one where she's like, all my time is spent focused on my people now. How would I know if now? Yeah, that one.
AZ was better than Nas. So like,
see, this is why I love that. See,
but I only like that song.
All the Nas fans smoke them out every time. It's easy. It's easy.
Yeah, I only like that one song though on that album they put out, and the other one, Lost Tapes. Yeah, that's what it's called. But the other songs weren't that good. And I actually only really gave it a chance because I was posting something on Instagram, and it like suggested that song. So I listened to it. I was like, oh, this song is really good, but the rest of the album wasn't that good. And I was like, sometimes people just need to pack it up.
I think the real conversation we need to have eventually is the North might not be the North Star of hip hop the way people like to pretend, but that's I don't want to get shot up. I don't want to drive by at my house.
Now when you invented something, they act like y'all just supposed to be the best forever, but it's not true. The South has actually ruled them for quite a while.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's fair to say different regions have waves as well. I think what's come out of Flint and Detroit and just Michigan rap for the past 3 years has been crazy in terms of how it's sounded around the world. What artists? Yo, I like Babyface Ray would be one. Well, I said Flint first, so there's Babyface Ease, Rio, Young OG, lots of rappers.
None of them people.
Yeah, Salad Baby.
I don't know the people, but I feel like
that's Texas crazy because everybody rap like them.
But Texas rap has really taken over the last like 2-3 years, especially Black women rappers have really taken over, and I feel like they don't be getting like the respect they deserve because your Mana Leos, your Ken the Mans, your Meg the Stallions, your Flo Millies from Mobile, Hashi Sinjo from Texas too. Like he's a guy, but them Texas rappers been on some shit.
Yeah. Well, Yachty took it out and kind of did the Drake model, and
how do they rap like Detroit now?
Colonized it and sent it out to everybody, but yeah, everybody do rap like them now. And if you're not like your writers,
well, like what is the thing that makes
it's that punch and flow where it sounds like
T Grizzly?
Yeah, T Grizzly, he's changed his sound to sound like it. I would say he was a little bit before this era in terms of how he say
T Grizzly was rapping like that before.
Yeah, but he would be exactly the generation right before I would say it took off and had that wave. But the same way Chicago had a crazy wave when drill took off and Young Chop was the hottest thing. So, BFB Pac-Man, like a comedy rapper type as well. But yes, you should feel old right now. That's what I'm saying. I'm smoking the Nas fans out. Listen,
I never heard of
he's talking about the new generation now.
I think it's actually you smoking out that you got bad music taste because we never heard of it. We don't know these people. I'm sorry.
Right, so I'll hold it.
Musa, are you doing Ramadan right now? Are you observing Ramadan?
I am, yeah. So I've been fasting, obviously doing the whole thing. Right now, I'm still drinking liquids because I got a little throat thing that I'm kind of getting over. So if my energy's a little lower than normal, it's just because I'm trying to conserve it because I got several more hours of daylight ahead of me.
What are you? So you just drinking stuff for your sahur?
No, so I'm still like waking up, eating a big breakfast. I'm just drinking water and tea throughout the day just to kind of like keep my throat, from hurting and stuff.
I'm talking to this nigga that's also doing Ramadan. He be calling at me like, alhamdulillah. And then I'd be like, all right, inshallah.
Y'all should consider, someone, Jihad Abdul Mamid, who's a comrade, former Panther here in Atlanta. We are always encouraging people, even if you're not Muslim, consider just doing Ramadan for a few days just to test it out and see what it feels like. All the revolutionaries who we like to walk around citing and quoting and talking about, they was all doing Ramadan.
Discipline. Yeah.
They was doing it in prison in the worst of conditions. So, what can you do for a few days? And so, yeah. Also, Ramadan this year has been a test because my roof got a leak and it's been raining a lot. And, we're not supposed to get like overly angry. We're not supposed to cuss. We're not supposed to.
You're supposed to be things, like mild-tempered.
Yeah. And so I don't always be a real mild-tempered kind of person, but yeah.
So I'm gonna put y'all on some Charleston shit before we go into this news story because none of y'all know who Little Boss is, huh?
Oh Lord. We doing music break. We doing classical breakdown today.
Heck a donkey.
Uzi was an athlete, 9 minutes in these streets. Pit for my fucking pipe, mula currency. All my niggas.
That's enough. That's what we listen to in Charleston. But no, I wanna go to this
people on my streets with a little currency.
I wanna go to that story, man, because I had a nostalgic moment when I heard it. So I started working at a news station, Channel 4 with Dean Stevens in Mount Pleasant when I was in high school. And that's kind of when I got into journalism. But what's happening here is something that I saw. I want to play this first, but then and then we can kind of talk about what y'all saw in this interesting clip.
We're kind of looking at now that we're seeing. There's still people out in doorways looking for shelter. And I think a lot of people think this is why we shouldn't allow hedge funds to own residential property. And so
it's a little low, Geechee.
A little bit of the nostalgia aspect, right? How this back in the 90s when we were growing up. Yeah, like we were saying, it was much more snow, colder.
You said it was low?
Yeah, I can barely hear it. I don't know about y'all.
Oh, damn. So basically,
it's very low.
You want to try for mine?
Yeah, try to get So basically, he was talking about how the snow was happening, and they wanted to talk about the snow, and it was like it's putting a bunch of people out, and people don't have houses, and he was like, "This is why hedge fund people shouldn't be landlords and something like that." And so he kept saying that, and she kept pulling the mic when he put some politic in it. But if you could try to play it again, I mean.
No, it's because I think it's just the TV screen that it was being recorded from. I think maybe More Perfect Union had a higher quality audio clip, but you summarized it perfect, which was, anytime he tried to mention venture capital, and it's just supposed to look like local news. So that's why it's so jarring to people. It's like that kind of censorship on just local news tells you how manicured it is.
Yeah. So when I was there and with Channel 4, Dean Stevens, so my football coach went to Citadel with Dean Stevens, and so they knew each other. So that's how I started working with them. But he was transitioned from sports to regular news. And I remember one time we was at some, I don't even know where we was at, like maybe off the Macon somewhere, and something happened, And this one dude, he was talking. I was like, oh, he sounded like he know what he's talking about. And I was like, we should interview him. They was like, no. And then they interviewed somebody, some dude off the street who just was saying some shit. And I was like, and then we went back to the clip. And then another time, like when I got to interview people, I was interviewing different people. And when it's time to edit, they wouldn't put my people in there, right? And so what I was learning how to do, and we had this editing bay was like horrendous, right? So this is how we used to edit the film. Like there was these reels, and you put the reels together, and then you splice the reel, and then you pull it together. And that's like before you get into the computer and the Adobe Audit and iMovie, like you just have to like splice all this shit like that. That shit was crazy. But again, that just centering or removing the mic when somebody's saying something that don't fit your politics is like crazy when I first heard it. So I wonder if y'all have any thoughts or experiences, especially you, Musa, being a journalist.
Yeah. At some point they stopped letting me do on the street interview because they realized how dangerous that was. But yeah. So y'all know I was a producer, digital reporter for international news station for several years, and I don't even think it was for us, at least, about moving the camera if someone's saying what doesn't fit your narrative. It really is more eye-opening to you're just going to find the person who's going to say the thing you want to say. So like if you're sending me and a the cameraman out on the street for a protest with 10,000 people, and it's Musa is the reporter assigned to it, I'm clearly going to find someone with an anti-imperialist sign, or like I'm going to clearly just try to find the people who. So that's why this whole thing about media and news being objective is such a lie. Like, and then we get these interviews, and like you said, Geechee, you got to go back into the editing bay and spend hours. You got 3 hours of footage. You're only going to take 2 minutes for the news clip, 1 minute. So then you're selecting even further. So I remember one time there was like this Venezuela demonstration where, if y'all remember, back in 2019, 2018, the US was trying to successfully take over the Venezuelan embassy in DC. Activists were occupying it to try to make sure that didn't happen. So I go and I'm doing all these interviews, and of course we have to show what the other side is saying too. We got to be fair and balanced. So it's like 8 minutes of me speaking with all these like socialist activists with the camera, and then there's like a 5-second clip of a Venezuelan gusano, and then flip right back to the. So anyways, yeah, I got a lot of experience with that. It's just the reporter is going to find who's going to reflect what they're trying to see, no matter what, that at the end of the day, you know.
That's one of the and Lorik and Amber, obviously Amber, I know you two in Memphis, and not only talking with the people and maybe the media. This last conversation we had in our neighborhood, you know, in the Dare neighborhood and the data center that's here, the people who's trying to build a data center, they was like, had this video, and they had this black young student, Georgia Tech from Summer Hill, saying the data centers are going to bring jobs. And it was like, we know this is how you're trying to tailor this production. And the white boy said, well, we're being honest. And I was like, this has nothing to do with honesty at this point. So yeah, I'm curious if y'all have like a point built off of Musa and maybe Michael Parenti's telling you like, niggas gonna be telling the truth and it still can be inaccurate.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why I be telling people you have to be way more strategic in media. Actually, stop talking so fucking much. Just repeat the same like 1-2 sentences over and over again. That's what I do. So then they can only report on the few things that I said, because I only gave them 1 to 2 sentences because I know they're gonna chop it up. But people don't listen, so they just start fucking talking, and then they be mad in the end. But I did give them advice in the beginning, so you know. Because folks will be like, Amber, oh my gosh, how do you do that? That was so good. You know, you really were on the point. And I was like, yeah, I repeated the same thing over and over again. And they were like, okay. And then they don't do the thing that I told them to do. And I'd be like, this is why people don't like helping you niggas. Because folks don't listen. People are hard-headed.
But you did hit the nail on the head, Amber. People talk too much when they talk to the media. If you just have your 3 talking points, you can repeat them as much as you need to, as much as you want. And when you go quiet, the reporter's going to fill that space. They're going to keep talking for you. That way they can't put words in your mouth. And I'm one of the hosts on Revolutionary African Perspectives, Rap Radio 89.3 WRFG. And we did a whole episode on Michael Parenti and he had 5 mechanisms that he wrote that the media uses to obscure the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them was just selective reporting. So it's not that you're not reporting the truth, you're just selectively reporting the pieces of the truth that you want to. And so y'all should really, sometimes when the mic is in your face, say a few words and then just be quiet, honestly.
I have definitely told people that, but I also think that this is a great example of what separates activists and organizers and advocates and politicians, because politicians actually will do that and organizers will do that. Activists talk too fucking much. One of my friends, I get on her about this every time. She gets so mad after them interviews come out because they be having all this stuff in it. And I said, I told you to say these 2 sentences. Niggas don't listen. So I just have let people figure it out on their own. And eventually they started to get a little bit better. But also the thing you're saying about reporters, like, they'll fill that space or they'll like just use what you said. People have told me, like other reporters have told me, they purposely will come to me and ask me to do a story because they know I say no a lot and they know that I'm going to give them the information they actually need, which is that I'm only going to say these same 2-3 things over and over and over again. And they don't like be pissed about it. They respect it. They like know that I'm not finna fucking play with them. I don't do a lot of interviews at all. I am very, very selective. Like I will only talk to 1 to 2 news stations here. I don't get them my number. I don't do none of that shit. And they respect that. I think that people have to have better boundaries.
Agreed. But I think to do that, like you said, they have to switch off that hat from, activists, which in a lot of these ways is celebrity in this era, if we're being honest, right? So switching out of the celebrity mode and into, thank you for that. We'll put it in the show description, the link to that. But yeah, getting out of that activist kind of celebrity, public intellectual mode, getting into an organizer's mindset. And so I think that transitions us perfectly into some of those skills in our next segment for Amber's Approach.
Welcome to the Remix Morning Show. This is Amber with your favorite segment, Amber's Approach. Okay, cool. Hi guys. So some people wanted to talk about how do I create campaign strategy, and I thought it'd be cool to talk about some of the ways that I marry digital campaign strategy with campaigns I'm doing in real life. So how do I use digital organizing with that kind of strategy to put it together? So kind of like what we were just talking about, the first thing I do is kind of separate what we're organizing on and who the organizers are versus like who's an activist or an advocate, so you know who you're working with. Most times the advocate types are not going to be willing to do as much extreme stuff as you are. Like they aren't going to be like do more like protest type stuff. They want to send a letter or an email or do a press conference, and I actually don't care about that shit. And so I kind of like narrow down what the coalition of folks will look like, and then also assigning roles. So to create a strategic campaign strategy, you have to assign roles to people and make sure they meet up to those roles. So I also will be like, hey, if you don't feel like you can do this, that's totally fine. But I do think it's important that we stick to the things that we say we're going to do. I think one thing I notice a lot in like campaigns where they feel kind of all over the place is that like everybody's trying to do multiple things and it's not necessarily the thing they're supposed to be doing. And so also knowing your strength. If you know that you lean more into activism and you want to organize a protest, then you should stick with that. If you know that you're not good at writing policy, and you don't necessarily understand it, or you don't like elected officials, you don't want to talk to them, try to get them to pass it, you shouldn't try to lean into organizing as much. And I think a lot of times people struggle with that based off ego, not necessarily based off of like them feeling like they can do it. So kind of getting that understanding up front. And I wanted to use a case study from the campaign I organized for Tyree Nichols, who was murdered by the police here in Memphis, to kind of land some of the points. Because I have a few, like videos and images and stuff I want to use. I click. Can y'all see this?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So I think I've talked about this a few times on the show about how I really believe in the effectiveness of long-term strategy. I'm definitely a student of Amilcar Cabral and Claudia Jones, and really like heavily believe in building up campaigns that are going to be sustained, but that have intermediate goals. And the intermediate goals kind of also help you keep the momentum going, but you know that your long-term goal is going to take you longer. So like my long-term goal here in Memphis is abolition and ending cash bail. And on the way to that, we have passed local policies, worked on different things around police brutality that have led us to more and more and more and more, but we haven't reached that big final goal yet because that's a long-term campaign. So the first thing I do in creating strategy is drafting clear demands. And I usually would draft those demands with the family of the person who was harmed. So we sat down with Tyre Nichols' family and wrote out the demands of what they wanted. And then we also sat down with community organizers and community members and wrote down the demands that they wanted, because they also want to see an end to police brutality in Memphis. So there were 2 different lists of demands that said family demands and then community demands. And then we worked each one of them one by one. And then we also built a coalition group. So that didn't include like any too crazy nonprofits, like there were 2 conservative, but it did include a few of them, like Memphis for All, Micah, which is a like a faith-led organization here that helped us with like a lot of organizing with pastors. And we worked with our official bail in Memphis chapter here, Decarcerate Memphis, and then also like some local gangs and stuff too, to like help organize like communities where they are. And then we assign tasks and roles, like I said earlier. So making sure that the roles and tasks we assigned were things people could actually do. And then the next thing I did was creating a media kit to lock down the narrative of what we wanted. So the main narrative that we use around Tyre Nichols is that this has been a consistent issue of these jump out boys going and attacking people, and folks being attacked in traffic stops and experiencing police brutality that has continued to happen in Memphis for 50 plus years. And we used that narrative throughout the entire time we were campaigning. We wanted these ordinances passed because of police brutality continuing in Memphis. We wanted these changes made because of the continued police brutality. We wanted to make sure that these things were put on the public city website so you can track the traffic stops as they're happening, so we can see further down the road how much police brutality was still continuing to happen. We wrote historical op-eds that showed 50 years before this man was murdered, a sheriff officer did the same exact thing to another Black man in the same exact way. So really just showing the whole historical context of how the narrative was right. So this is from the case study for the Tyre Nichols campaign, like I said. So these are what the graphics look like I told y'all about when I said there were separate lists of demands. So we created a Google spreadsheet that listed out what the campaign was for. So what happened to Tyre. And then we also listed the demands on another tab. Then we also listed all the contact info for every city council person, every county commissioner, all the mayors. We also listed out step by step as things were moving. So as each demand was answered, the first family demand was to release the body cam footage. And then the next one was to fire and charge all the officers involved and to release their public personnel files accordingly. I also want to say the reason why I wanted to separate the family demands and the community demands is because his family wanted people to be arrested, but we as a community are abolitionists. So we didn't believe in that. So I also felt like it would help me to uphold my morals and values to list them separately. And although I was still helping his family to reach these different demands, I still had my same demands of passing these policies, leading us closer and closer towards abolition and removing police having access to people. And that was the goal. So that to get closer to abolition, we wanted to remove the access that police had to people as much as possible, which meant removing them from doing these types of traffic stops. The other demand they had was naming all the officers and public personnel on the scene, because there were about 20 people there, but they weren't being publicly named, and then releasing all their personnel files. And at the same time as we were asking for these demands to be met, I actually was doing research and we found all the people ourselves. So as the demands weren't being met, we were releasing the information ourselves. There's an MSNBC interview of me where someone was asking how I found the 5th officer that they hadn't like released yet. And I told them about how I saw a picture of, I read the affidavit that had his name. I saw a picture of an Apple Watch. The Apple Watch was the same picture on the body camera footage that I matched, and that we as a community want to release the information because it's important that people know who is out here murdering people. And if our city is not willing to do the right thing and release the information, then we will release it because we have a right and a duty to keep our community safe from murderers. So at the same time that we were, at the same time that we were doing this, we were doing action every single day. So throughout the campaign strategy, I planned out escalations throughout the entire like 4 weeks we're working on this that matched with the family demands and the community demands. And I think that it's important to plan them out ahead of time so that you can follow it. So I wrote out a full spreadsheet of what we were doing. We had a sit-in one day in the DA's office. After that sit-in, they released the body camera footage. The next day, we did a protest outside of 201 Poplar. The next day, they released the personnel files. The next day, we did a protest and shut down a street going around City Hall, and we had city council members to join us. And then they shut down the Scorpion unit while we were doing that protest. And that was important because the day right before that, we had just shut down a bridge. And when we shut down the bridge, the demand was to shut down the Scorpion unit. And while we were on that bridge, actually, this civil rights attorney that I know, Walter Bailey, and my high school debate partner, Camario, were on a 4-wheeler driving around because we were in like a rich neighborhood to walk to the bridge. And they were like, what's going on? Like, why are you out here? And so they drove onto the bridge and was asking me. And I was like, well, this is the demand. He was like, okay, well, I can call the mayor. I said, that's cool. My friend who was marshalling at the time, we got in her SUV. They called the mayor on the phone. He asked me what it was. I said, the demand is that you shut down the Scorpion unit. He said, okay, well, I have to call the police chief and check with her. I said, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, I know that you have the power solely to shut it down. So if you want to check with her, just check with her. That's cool. But you actually have the power to do this. And so if you're choosing not to do that, we're still going to stay on this bridge. And they didn't shut it down. So we stayed on that bridge. We was on that bridge for probably like 4 more hours after that. And then I walked everybody off. They went home. And the next day we went back outside. We were back outside marching around City Hall, and they shut down the Scorpion unit in the middle of us doing that march. So the purpose of the strategy I built is that each escalation will get you to the demand that you want. And as we were doing each action, we were getting demands met one by one by one. The ones that took the longest were the ordinances. And so the next video you're going to see is a city council member. So as this was happening, the national media were interviewing our city council members. And one of them, the city council chairman, was crying online about, what happened and how bad this was. And we had gotten to the point where we were almost done with the ordinances. We were almost at the 3rd reading, which is the last reading you have to do to pass something. And he was pushing back. And so the next escalation was this video that I posted of him.
Do you want to continue on, or you want me to let you go?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't apologize.
We
Don't
have
apologize for being a human being.
We have to do something.
So at this point, we were almost passing these ordinances, and he was on CNN 1 month before that crying, saying we have to do something. And so I posted this clip saying, you were just saying we have to do something a month ago, but now that the cameras are gone, you don't think it's as important to pass these ordinances. And then after that, they passed the ordinances, but not before they banned me from the city council meetings. I think he was trying to get back. It's cool though. It's all right. I just couldn't go into the city council meeting. I was in the city hall building outside of the meeting, and somebody opened the door so I could hear them voting, but he was just being a little bitch. But the purpose of me like saving stuff like that is knowing that these are key players that you need, right? Like you need your elected officials, you need the media, you have to strategically use the media, and you need the people to keep showing up. And one of the things I did specifically in the media is that there was a clear talking point around these being Black officers and how these Black officers were like on video killing Tyree Nichols. And I specifically talked about how the only final step that we need, the only thing that's going to solve this issue is abolition, because white or Black people will still help uphold the system of policing. And that looks like harming, jailing, and killing Black people. And you can see me saying that in multiple media clips. They never cut it because I only am saying that like one short sentence. And I say that over and over and over again. I talk about abolition consistently. And honestly, as I was doing this, I actually was really struggling with abolition, but I consistently talked about those talking points because I knew how important it was to still discuss the need for abolition. I was struggling with it because I was fucking pissed off, but I was still an abolitionist. Like I still believed in it, but I just also want them to get their face stumped out too. And so I was just struggling in that way, but I talked heavily about abolition. And because of that, certain media, like outsources like podcasts and like, I think it was 2020 reached out to me to interview me about abolition, like about what I think about it, what the goals were. So there's like at least 2 or 3 like long specials of me just talking about abolition. And so that's also a reason why campaign strategy matters, because when you set up the narrative early, people will like that narrative. Some folks will pull on that narrative and be like, okay, I want to talk to her about that. And then that can become a thing and also help you get your message out.
Yeah, that's powerful. Appreciate that, Amber.
Can
I ask a question or now?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to ask a question, and then I want you to start, and then if Musa and Laura can add on, will be dope. So I was having this conversation. Some of it was kind of like surprising, but I'm gonna pretext it, or I'll put it within context. So if Lenin and Engels and Marx says that dealing in the electoral politic arena is to promote your politic, your position, say what you are for, and then count your support. And then with that, we know like the concept of campaigning is like you're trying to win not only the particular thing that you're trying to push, but you're trying to win people over to your politics, your party, your organization, whatever the case may be, right? And so I wonder if y'all could kind of. So the person kept saying like, "Oh, we do campaigns. We need to do campaigns." And I'm like, "Well, something comes before a campaign, maybe a program, interact with people, mutual aid, or whatever." And I know they was probably oscillating between long-term campaign, short-term campaign. So what I would like for y'all to share is like, how do you correlate or position campaigns, programs that an organization might have that touch the people, mutual aid, policy, and then I guess the organization in itself? Like, how do they all connect, if that makes sense? I would love to hear.
Yeah, they all build on each other. I would say, like, I mean, this campaign specifically, and the ones I've done after this, that I've all won, by the way, but they all were working because we had those things. So we had base building, we had programs. Our official Bill in Memphis chapter is the only bail fund in Memphis that bails out Black folks with no limits. We didn't bail out folks with murder charges who got off because they didn't do the shit. People can get charged with anything, right? So when you have limits to like how much you're willing to bail someone out, folks stay in jail who don't necessarily need to be there. Like we had one person who had 9 attempted murder charges because someone was attacking her and she shot her gun in the air 9 times. But she didn't murder anybody, right? And they were trying to give her 50 plus years in prison. But if she didn't get bailed out of jail, she could have got her kids taken away from her because she had multiple children. She could have lost her job. And so like having those type of programs, we're supporting people build upon the campaign of ending cash bail, ending money bail, which builds upon joining our organization, Official Bill in Memphis, who is an abolitionist org, whose long-term goal is abolition. And we have short-term campaigns like our bailouts that we do for Mother's Day and Father's Day, and also our mental health support program that we're running right now, and our policy stuff, which I help to lead up, but also like combating bad policy and also supporting policy stuff. Like last year, I helped to get funding for mental health for youth that we were servicing. So we got $250,000 in our budget to support transportation to therapy and support giving youth therapy. Now this year we have $2 million listed in the budget because they saw how successful that was the previous year. But all those things align together, and digital media helps heavily with that. One of the other narratives we had was that we don't actually need to see the body camera footage. Like his family wanted to release because it should be released, but we can look at a picture of him and see that they beat the shit out of him. And that was a consistent narrative we had. This is what police brutality looks like. They killed this man. You can look at a picture and know that. You don't need to see a video. And because of that, that flipped a lot of the narrative in the city of, yeah, we don't need to see that. We know that they did this. The entire city knows those police officers were guilty. Even when they were on trial and they got found not guilty of some of the charges, nobody believed that that was true because they all had seen the pictures of him, of what he looked like before and after, and they knew that those people were guilty. So you also have to have a good digital media strategy set up, which looked like these graphics you see, that spreadsheet, that's a screenshot of the spreadsheet that we had that told his life story of who Tyree was. Then there were different tabs. Like I said before, they had all the different demands. There was also a media tab that showed all the different media hits. And then it also showed all the reactions. So as elected officials were reacting to different things, we posted those clips too. So folks can see if they're shifting on what they believe, if they're not shifting, who's joining us to support. Like tracking all those things too, along with the campaign, helps you reach that long-term goal because now we have elections this year. And some of those county officials, we can remember their stances before when Tyree Nichols was murdered and they didn't want to pass a county commission ordinance around the stuff we passed in city council. So all those things line up together long-term.
Yeah. So Musa or Lord, before you go, so I remember reading about like the struggles that the Communist Party in the US had with other people. And then they was like, when they want to take on particular campaigns, like, oh, we don't want to get in the Scottsboro case. No, we should. Why? And then the objective is to get into the campaign, but because you're trying to win people over to your party. So I don't know if y'all are having a chronological ordering of like this happens first, but yeah, I would love to hear campaigns, long and short, mutual aid programs or programs, policy, and then an organization or a party or whatever. Like, I'm just curious how y'all think through those.
I'm gonna take this down for a second so we can see Musa's face. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. One, I wanted to also really quick, I don't know if listeners, you mentioned the Scorpion unit. I do want to make sure listeners understand that there are police gangs that operate like street gangs, but they're inside the police. Scorpion unit is one example. In Atlanta, we had the Red Dog unit, and then the former director of the Red Dog unit moved to Memphis, started the Scorpion unit, right? So it's very connected.
She moved to Durham first.
Oh, okay. Well, nonetheless, it's the same pig, right?
Yeah, she tried to do it there too, and then it didn't work. And then she moved to Memphis eventually, because apparently people didn't like her in Durham either. I didn't know that part either. So she moved to Memphis eventually and became our police chief. And also that was a long-term demand we had too around those police gangs. So now we have a city council member that I just met with last week who is willing to put up an ordinance to audit them. And if they have a certain level of police brutality or if they have a certain amount of malfeasance for money they're spending, then they're disbanded. But that has also taken us almost 4 years to get to. That's also another long-term policy campaign. So everything we're doing has a long-term like point to it, but also has intermediate things. And I find from my organizing that people need the intermediate small wins. You have to organize a campaign strategy in a way where you can get very small but important wins on the way, or else they will drop off. And I've seen that happen in other places. Like folks were real riled up, but once they lost the big thing they wanted, they didn't care about it no more. So you have to like be able to add that stuff in there.
Yeah, so I just feel like that was good information. People need to understand when you say Scorpion unit, what you're talking about. I think to your question, Geechee, this is actually something I'm specifically very self-critical around, because for probably the first 7-8 years of me getting involved in organizing, I thought I was organizing and I wasn't. I was just doing pop activism campaigns after campaigns. And it was specifically around police brutality and police violence. And so like thinking about, for example, the murder of Anthony Hill by police here in Atlanta, I spent many hours, a lot of time working with the family, local organization called Rise Up, BLM Atlanta, a lot of organizations. And we were very great at building momentum. We were very great at having short, mid, and long-term goals within our campaign. What we weren't good at is base building and program building. So we had no true, no true base of mutual aid programming, political education programming. And because we were not thinking long enough ahead on base building, we would get small wins, but it would only be a small handful of people around us who were celebrating with us, who were ready for the next stage of whatever the battle would be. And unfortunately, because of nonprofit BS, a lot of the organizations who even led that charge are no longer around in the city no more. And so this point around, I think Amber's laying out around short, mid, and long-term goals. And I think a big part of it is like base building has to be a very key part. Like we actually have to be bringing the people up with us. Otherwise, you're just creating a small little handful of activists doing a bunch of work. I think also I saw Stono put in the chat. Shout out Stono. That's the homie right there. Community control of police. So over the years organizing in Atlanta, one of the things that shifted for a lot of the organizing I'm involved in is we started focusing less on specific demands, even to your point around drafting demands with the family. Like I think Daruba Ben Wahad actually has a really maybe controversial but good point about like just because you get hit over the head don't mean you're an expert on violence, And so once you shift towards a community control of public safety model, which then becomes extremely tangible for people, it makes a lot of sense for people. Pan-African Community Action in DC has done a lot of really great work on this. We actually can then start to see like our community forums and discussions, people actually feel like, oh, I really can be invested in this thing. I really can. You're right. I should control what public safety looks like in the West End and Pittsburgh and whatever my neighborhood is. And so those are just a few reflections. But again, I'm really self-critical at this point because I think we were ushered into an era of movement where quick pop viral campaigns became like rapid response campaigns was the norm. And it's taken just as many years for many people to kind of unlearn that and move into something much more revolutionary, because ultimately that is still the goal.
Somebody said it in the chat and I'm realizing it more so, like I always have a reference point of something that was said, and I almost forgot that me and you shared that you were working on Anthony's case, and I grew up with him, and Miss Jumo, his mother, like she was going to be in my children's book, but I only had so many pages left, so I didn't put her in there. I put my other teachers and not her. But it was kind of like painful to know them and know that experience and have a particular politic that they don't share. And it's like, yeah, like the work that y'all were doing and some of the like turns that y'all were, the radical language and turns and approaches that y'all want to take, they just really didn't understand from my experience. And I'm just like, it was, and I couldn't even explain it to them because they just know, me from when I was little. And
yeah.
So
first off, that's why I actually didn't know that you knew him. I was very, very close friends with his partner, Bridget, who organized with us. And that was also a lot of the like, I think actually if we had a roadmap similar to what Amber's laying out, a lot of the contradictions that really tore that movement apart could have been resolved. And to your point, the family is not just that they sometimes don't have the politics, they can actually have detrimental politics. Like Anthony Hill was a veteran, but he was not murdered because he was a veteran. And so there were many times where they're trying to push us into some extremely patriotic type of protesting and stuff, and the people are not resonating with it. The politicians don't really care. They cared about veterans, they wouldn't all be homeless. Like, it was just a lot of contradictions that perhaps had we had a much more dialectical roadmap laid ahead of us, that we then could have resolved with much more success,
You know something else, and I'm sorry, I'll let you go, Lord. I now see or saw. So basically, when you said that, I immediately thought about, all of us, JRTC was like heavy at Berkeley High School. They're like, and if you're not playing sports, then you go into JRTC. So like the program, and my cousin went, and that nigga stayed in there 5 years, and he's seen some shit, he ain't never going back. Then I have a friend who just retired, you know what I mean? But even with Miss Jumo, I do remember Miss Jumo being very like patriotic in terms of the service and whatever. And Anthony wasn't playing sports. Well, I think he played a little bit of football sometimes, but he wasn't. That wasn't going nowhere. And so, boom, military. And so just I don't know, just to even see like experience the programming and see it impact them in a I guess in that drastic manner. It's like it's painful to kind of see all that connect. So.
Yeah. I think that's why you do have to separate them, which is also why I say you have to do this at the beginning. So when this happened at the beginning, we said to his family, okay, cool. We believe these things and we're going to continue to push that. And they were like, okay, but we also still push for the things that they want. So you have to be able to balance both of the two. And I do see that happen a lot, Musa, where like people don't agree on the full list of demands. And I was like, why did no one just think to split this shit up? I have never seen someone do it the way I did it. I have never seen someone do that. I always see folks just have one list and I'd be like, why don't just split that shit up? Because our community does not agree with some of the stuff. Like even with the way that his family talks, they were very religious. They were always meeting in churches, saying like, just please keep praying for us. Like they were very, very religious. And I'm a religious person too, but most of the city did not connect to that. Like they didn't really care. So like you also have to think about the people of where you are. And I saw someone asking in the chat about like community control of police. We don't want that because we want abolition. So we're not interested in that. The only thing we're interested in...
I want community control of police. Let me say that. I want community control of police.
I know about in Memphis. Someone was asking how would community control in Memphis like work. And I was saying we don't want that because we want abolition. So we want to build up what that would look like in our communities for our communities to decide what they would want. But we don't want community control of policing because we want to abolish policing.
Yeah, the community could decide with community control.
Yeah, and they could decide that thing, but we want to allow them to decide that. And right now they said they want to abolish the police and then as a community decide what we want to do. So that's what we're moving towards.
I will also say to the point I saw in the chat, I want to clarify when I'm saying like what paraphrasing Daruba when it comes to like the victims, it's not that. Of course, the victims of police violence should be included in our movements. They should have a role. They should inform our demands. They should inform our strategies. They should be integral. It's more so, though, we have to also allow like politics to and ideology also has to play a really serious role. And last year, or maybe the year before, 2 years ago, I went to the Southern Regional meeting of the National Alliance Against Political and Police Repression. And they had a whole entire panel where it was all people who were victims of police violence, who had either a family member or someone murdered or killed by police. And like on this panel, some of them came out on the other side extremely radical. Some of them were like, I still love police. I just know that this was wrong and I'm still working through. So like there was a huge variety of politics. And what I really appreciate is that the room, like the organizers of this space, they weren't trying to like necessarily say your politics are wrong, your response to this violence is wrong, whatever. However, it was framed and put within the proper context, and it was like part of their larger, more radical and revolutionary struggle. And so that's more so. I just wanted to clarify that.
So Lord, you got a whole lot of seasoning through this before you get to answer this, and shout out to Black Men Build. The word is there, build. You have your wartime work. I'm really curious how you order those things too, like campaigns, long term, short terms, programs, the role of the organization, the policy, politics, those things.
Yeah, well, we're still young, so in a lot of ways, I'm learning. I really appreciated this. These are skills that need to be passed on to our organizers. So Amber, I just want to shout that out. I think there's other conversations here. It's actually really funny. The conversation about the tensions between community control and abolition sounds very similar to conversations I have heard between anarchists and Marxist-Leninists about the state versus abolition of the state. And it seems like we agree on the destination, just the journey might have some different approaches. So I'm interested in exploring that tension more, but I wanted to stay on the practical things. Amber, I immediately appreciated how you separated the family from community demands. That was exactly what I was about to ask about in the first place. And the fact that you said that it's a very practical thing. I know the theory is extremely important, but we're talking about the practice. So I'm thinking through that. Geechee, I know you had a question. I'm just working through my thoughts to get there. Amber, my next question for you, though, and then this will get to Geechee's questions about the power mapping. It's a term I've heard the nonprofit industrial complex use all the time. And it's amazing because you go and you learn it and you're like, this is great. And then you see they don't use that shit at all. So it's very, very confusing. So what I heard from you was a lot of power mapping where you knew who could do what. And so you weren't confused. They couldn't send you home and confuse the meetings and have y'all running in circles and stuff because you're like, no, you have the power to do this. You're going to say you don't, but you do. I know you're lying. So how do you get to that point is my question for you in that presentation. How did you learn the system well enough to know who can do what and then spread that to your other organizers?
So I have been going to city council meetings and county commission meetings for a little bit, and we had been like raising issues about stuff that was happening in the community. So I had kind of gotten an idea of like how they worked. And then we had started doing like trainings. So also part of this campaign was us training people on what the county commission could do, what they couldn't do, what the city council could do, what the city council couldn't do. I'm trying to see if I have an example of the slides here. Yeah. And then we also made graphics showing how you can go to the meetings, because folks who had never been to the meetings before didn't know that for county commission, you actually don't have to go in person. You can leave a comment over the radio, or you can email a comment in. So we made sure folks knew all the different ways that they could participate. And then we also did teach-ins about making public comment. I did those teach-ins multiple times and talked to them about what power they had. I talked to them about the normal order of the meetings, because people also would get there right when they start. And I'm like, hey, you can get there at 4, or you can get there an hour late, because they're going to do all this stuff in the beginning. So also trying to make sure you can save as much time for people as possible, because, you know, these are working class folks who are trying to get to go to these meetings, right? So one, we're providing meals for them and rides for them, but also we want to try to preserve as much of the time as possible. If we know this item isn't going to come up until an hour and 30 minutes into the meeting, we're going to have folks show up an hour into the meeting so that they are only there for the time they really, really, really need to be there. Because I think a lot of issues is that people also get fatigued going to these public meetings, because they're like, I'm in here for a long time. It's taking forever to get to this thing. It's, you know, draining me. I want to go. So also thinking about all those factors at the same time and being willing to just do multiple trainings. Like I had to do these trainings several times, and that was fine with me. We had other folks who were doing them. We had different organizers who were doing them. We had different organizations who were doing them. We recorded some of them. We went live and live posted one training of me doing it, so that it was getting around in multiple places and folks felt confident with doing the public comments. And then after this, I organized to change things about the city council meetings, because I noticed how hard it was for folks to get there. So I worked on getting them to provide free parking, to move the meeting time back. So now the meeting time is at 4 p.m. So a working class person can get there at 5, which is actually more realistic, because I mean, I went to the meeting this week. They didn't start doing business until 5:30. They had people in there getting resolutions and shit. So it took a long, long time. And I think that that's also important to just set the stage for people. I think a lot of folks do not participate in public processes because they don't understand what's going on. And we have to demystify that process. And so I explained to them what the meeting will be like. I told them that, like, you know, sometimes they make it feel like this is this huge, you know, important decorum only event. You ain't got to do none of that shit. I be in there eating snacks. I be walking around. Like, don't feel like these are big people that are above you and you can't do anything, because it's not true. And kind of really demystifying that made folks feel more comfortable with going, and then saying, hey, and if they don't want to do this, you can pressure the mayor to change his policy. You don't necessarily need the city council. And so for a few things, we had to pressure the mayor. And I know someone in the chat asked me, what are the steps leading up to abolition? For Memphis, one thing that we've really been working on is moving money in the budget. So last year, for the last 2 years, we've moved money from the police department into other departments, into funding other projects. And I think a big part of what people see as community control here is funding community programs and removing money from the police. And that has continued to happen over and over again. So now we have $5 million coming from the police budget this year, from what the budget our mayor is going to present in, like, I think maybe in a few weeks, like in 2 weeks or so. But that's kind of what it looks like for us. I think it looks different in different places based off of like where you are, because there are still people who like the police. But what we do know is that they don't like how much money they get. And that's the biggest thing. So us looking at what do people really care about? folks here don't hate the police. Like, they think they're fucked up, and they don't believe that, you know, they're always telling the truth. But they aren't like, oh, I hate them, they gotta go, other than like a lot of community folks, right? But they do not like how much money they get. And that's the consistent thing we hear. We got to stop giving them so much money. They have almost 70% of the budget. Like, that has to stop. And so we pivoted the campaign to removing money from this budget to fund these community projects, and then having communities write the type of budget they want. What does a community budget look like for you? And then working through the campaign to get those things funded. And we've been doing that for almost 3 years now. And now we have this $5 million investment we're going to get this year after working on it for almost 4 years. So for them, it does look a lot different than in some other places, but I do think that it still is impactful. Like, that's still a big win for community, because they're going to be like, okay, I can feel the changes, because people could feel the change from last year. Youth crime went down. Youth unemployment went down heavily because we funded a youth economic development program with only $800,000. Like, it wasn't a lot of money, but the impact was big. And so I think that that's really what's helping, is people seeing the impact long term, so much so that the crime dropped and the federal government said, actually, we need to bring an occupation here. The crime is out of control, and like making up these lies, which our community did not accept. They were like, no, the crime really did drop. Like, they could feel the difference that happened from those things we funded. And that only helped to push our narrative to where now we're getting way more money in the budget, because the community is even like, this isn't adding up. Like, we're not stupid. We can, like, we live here, we can feel it. And we know that these things have changed. So I think that that does help over time to reach that long-term goal.
You know what'd be dope? If your abolition group, the stats that they quote, instead of say crime went down, youth crime went down, crime against youth went down. That'd be a dope ass study.
There will be. We didn't put out a study saying that. We just talked about the impact of the program we did. So like, we talked about how we made sure over 300 plus youth and their families receive therapy and wraparound services. We talked about how over 200 youth were in these youth economic development programs. Over half of them receive cars. They have full-time employment. About 25 of them have mentors because they didn't get the exact job they wanted. And so I created a program where if they don't get the job in the field they want, they get matched with a mentor in that field to eventually get them to that job. So we talked about those things, like what did this budget line item benefit? And then people can just put two and two together. They're like, yeah, so that makes sense that these things have changed because y'all are funding, this, and you made this kind of impact.
Yeah. That was a great answer. It's very thorough. And where I just see Black men building that is trying to get to that level of understanding and build a container that holds people from various levels of their political journey in that struggle, right? So you're bringing in new people, you're bringing in elders who have been organizing the community for a while, all those things. And then ultimately, I think there is always going to be a disconnect that is filled by what Musa talks about with base building and ideology, that is filled by what Amber's talking about actually going to these events and learning political economy and community. Because you have people who do enjoy the programming, and they almost develop like a client-like relationship. And that's what the nonprofit industrial complex encourages. And that is not base building. That is not radical organizing. So I appreciate Stono explaining what the campaigns are for, raise class consciousness, bring people to radical organizing. So that's, I think, ties the ball on Geechee's point. We do have programming. I think it's excellent, but you get caught in, I always say, the healing work. Healing from what? Oh, that's why the publication is called Wartime. All right, wartime means you have to get involved in struggle. How do you get involved in struggle campaigns? But I think bridging those things is always hard. Someone might just want to come to the circle. So it's our job to then move you from, you come to the circle, show up to service. You'll show up to service. Can you come to a city council meeting? But to Amber's point, we have to be sharp on those skills. On the, hey, this is a flyer that says, how do you show up to a city council meeting? And this email on the bottom of the flyer, when you respond to it, people will actually be on the other end reading that email and getting back to you, right? So that's why I see our struggle is all of the little things. We have the theory and we create the practice, and we actually got to be on the ground sharp enough to be there when the people come to use the container we built. And so I think that last part sometimes gets lost in the sauce a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's dope. Sometimes mutual aid, meeting a people need will not always be rice or bread. It might be a space for men to be able to talk and be vulnerable, and you meet in the need, and then you pull them into the struggle via that meeting the need. So I think that's dope. Thank y'all. I think I'm gonna clip that because we're gonna put y'all all in Morehouse and teach all the students. This is organizing, niggas.
I appreciate it. Thank y'all for all the folks in the chat who was tuning in. Make sure y'all drop your super chats. You know, I take all dollar bill types, 1s, 5s, 10s, 20s, 100s. You know, anything matters. My dog still needs more dog treats.
Can you sing it in the Gangsta Boo way?
No.
Where them dollars at? Where them? I'm chilling heavy. Understand me? Oh, never mind. Sorry, man. I mean, Musa said the South, created some shit, so I might as well bring the South out. What y'all want me to do?
We did. We did.
Y'all agree. This is a BLM South. Wow. All the South slander on this platform. Look who's here on Fridays, y'all. Welcome to the Dirty South. Remix on a Friday.
I did see some of the comments. I know Siraj said Amber told me about 287G agreements.
Yeah.
So glad it helped, Siraj. And I really appreciated Dre's comment. He said, definitely great information. You should clip this and put it in the Google Doc. Amber is defining how she dialectically operates, organizing and mobilizing. She's defining the work. I really appreciate that because I definitely tried to practice it in real time, and it's very difficult. But I have been able to duplicate this same campaign I did with Tyre Nichols' family in other ways multiple times. And I also think this campaign is a great example of how we've taken the momentum from that to build long term, because I don't think we would have gotten the money in our budget, been able to fund the programs we're funding right now if we weren't able to build off of that campaign with Tyre Nichols and his family and talking about how police impact our lives and how much money they take to kill us. Because that really was a huge talking point for people. Like they were really thrown off by like, I did specific videos saying like, hey, our libraries only get $2 million in the city budget. Our police department gets 36 million. And they would clip shit like that or like say, hey, did y'all know this? Like they're only getting 6% of the budget and they're getting 68%. And those type of talking points really do resonate with people. So also figuring out what resonates with the group of folks that you're talking to definitely helps, but you do have to do it multiple times. I think that what Geechee asked me was a great question of like, how do you get people to like know about those things? I've had to do them multiple times. I had to do that same presentation multiple times. I've had to talk about city council meetings multiple times because not everybody is seeing stuff in the same place, right? And then some people might have an experience at city council where they're like, this feels unfair. We had some niggas almost get arrested last year because they was like, why they didn't call the item number? And they had never been to a city council meeting before. So they were just waiting on this item number to be called. And I had to explain to them that the chair has discretion and they can call a different number before this other number. Sit your ass down, because they was finna arrest them. They was geeked up. Like they was so pissed. And I was like, this is why it's important before we come to these meetings to ask some questions, just in case some shit go left or something start moving weird and you're not sure what's happening. Before you get geeked up and start yelling at people and jumping over seats and go to jail, you ask a question. So I do like to do that same training over and over again for people for one of those reasons of like, people just get fed up because, we all have this idea that like the government just doesn't give a fuck about us, right? Like they don't care about us. They don't care about, our rights or what we think. And so people come in with that same type of, persona, and then they see the local government doing something they feel like is wrong. So they're immediately like, oh, I'm going to go off.
So basically what Amber is saying that she's starting to see spaceships on Bankhead. So you need to get geeked up.
She really put on for Southern hip hop today, yo. All right, well, we got time for one story, and then Moose is gonna to walk us through something very important for us to discuss right now. And I'm sorry, y'all, it's gonna be this because they trying me again. They pissing me off. Okay.
Wait, hold on, we need to bring up Stone on Super Chat.
I thought we was gonna do that.
Oh yes, absolutely. Thank you for that. Bring Frank Chapman from the National Alliance Against Police Repression was something else. I'm sorry. What's the R? You said it earlier, but we would love to have that guest on. I already put it in our notes.
But y'all should have Stono on. I don't know why Stono always be trying to be real shy.
Right.
Y'all should have
be loud. She be loud.
Exactly.
Stono, come through.
I don't know why Stono won't come on.
Yeah, Stono and Amber. I'm gonna have to listen. If Stono and Amber on, I'm gonna have to pop 3 gummies before I get I'm saying. My bad.
Great time. Now I'm looking for you. Don't even try it. Nice try, buddy. Okay. But yeah, I want to do this because we're doing Florida in the South. I already talked about AK, Baba Sundiata. I'm working through my RNA trauma. I don't know why we got left off the black belt. You know, when they do the map, they don't want to come rescue us. But here we go. So
Youth pastor. Wait, can you read the comments out? Because there's folks who need us to read the comments out. They said get you comments be a mixture of dad comedy and youth pastor.
It's pretty good.
But the fact that y'all laugh mean to tell me it's funny. So boom, we win. It's a win. A win is a win. A win is a win.
I also like Little Miss Tricky had a great comment. Yes, I've noticed a lot of organizers are not organized and they are not introducing and growing in that area, only focus on ideology. I think that can happen like in orgs, which is why you have to practice different things. Like we have a fellowship in our official Bill in Memphis chapter, and I think it helps people practice the ideology they're learning about because there might not be an active campaign, right? Like someone hasn't been murdered by police right now or this year, right? So we have to work on these other things, and that looks like let's help you write an ordinance, or what's an issue you're concerned about. Let's learn about that. And then you use that ideology in that way. But sometimes people don't think to do that. They just be like, well, we're just going to go through this thing. You're going to do this fellowship. You're going to learn this ideology. No need to practice it. We'll figure it out later. And that's not helpful.
Yep. We're working against that dogmatism. All right. I got something for us real quick. Light work. Since y'all talking shit again. So, appreciated this clip, a little bit of history about Florida, but also about the South. So here's the question. I know Georgia does. Y'all have Publix in Memphis, Amber?
Nope, they only have them in Nashville.
Wow, that's right. See, y'all more north-south. But anyway.
We at the bottom. Nashville's up there.
That's true.
We're at the very bottom of the state in the corner.
I'm talking about Tennessee in general, but yeah. Gotcha. All right. So this is a little history around Publix and the family behind it.
Names, I'm going to give you a name, but some of you might need to find a different place to shop after. In 2014, I made a documentary called Food Chains about a group of migrant workers, tomato pickers, taking on one of the biggest grocery chains in America, Publix. If you're from the South, you know Publix. If you're not, you might not know how big Publix is. It's privately held. It's worth tens of billions of dollars, and it spends millions of dollars each year crafting a warm, fuzzy, family-friendly image. But here's what we couldn't say in the film without getting sued. Publix was founded by a guy named George Jenkins in Lakeland, Florida in the 1930s, a city in a region where the KKK was powerful. Florida, especially back then, had one of the most active and violent Klan movements in the country. By some estimates, there were more KKK members in Florida than all the other southern states combined. And Klan influence reached deep. Sheriff's offices, local judges, political machines across central Florida. And this is the same region where the Groveland Four were falsely accused. Read Devil in the Grove, a great book. These four were hunted, beaten, shot, executed by the state, and only exonerated in 2021. People will say, proximity isn't complicity. Fine, let's go back a couple generations. George Jenkins' grandfather, John Franklin Jenkins, fought for the Confederate States Army. People will say, so? Millions did. But after the war, he joined the Royal Arch Masons, a white-only fraternal network that across the South acted as a civic backbone of Jim Crow. Businessmen, sheriffs, judges, Confederate veterans, and the KKK, the local white elite who enforced the racial order long after slavery ended. The Klan wasn't fringe, it was the civic bloodstream of white power. Fast forward, Publix will say that the modern company is different, but one of its largest shareholders, George Jenkins' granddaughter, Julia Jenkins Fancelli, became the single largest funder of the January 6th Stop the Steal rally. And what was the first day in American history that a Confederate flag was ever raised in a federal building in D.C.? It didn't happen in the Civil War. It didn't happen in Reconstruction. It happened January 6, 2021. It all connects. Y'all want names? I'm going to give you a name, but...
All right. Just wanted to lay that history out for folks. It's estimated that at one time, 1 in every 6 white people in Florida were in the Klan. So just we the South, no questions asked. And if you come down here,
deep down there near the water,
yeah, they want the water
where the boats was going to.
But Lord, I'm curious what you think about, because some people, sometimes on the right day, myself would actually say Florida's the Caribbean, and there were also KKK chapters in the Caribbean, such as Cuba prior to the revolution. And Gerald Horne makes, in his book Race to Revolution, makes a really good point that all this, when the Civil War was towards the end, the slave owning crackers ran towards Florida with the goal of making it to the Caribbean so they can continue slavery. And that's why a lot of people's literal first and second cousins is in Cuba and the Caribbean today. So is it the South?
It's both. You can say that about New Orleans, right? We could say the same kind of history about France. So is it, it's where they meet. It's exactly where they meet. I 100% agree. Because someone's already pointed out Jacksonville and Duval, and that is absolutely the South in that sense. But Miami and Duval have had people going back and forth when we talk about generations for almost a century now. So that's where all the Black people come from. They go up and they go back down, and then we go to Tampa, and we be all over the place. So this is 2026. I think it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, and you can make those links. Why? Because like you said, it's people's cousins. Like what generation ago? Or with the white people, their diaspora, where we saw they just tried to reinvade Cuba right off the speedboat. So it's a real question. But those crackers probably hung out with some MAGA crackers and trained. They might have shot together Navy, and so it's they merging.
Siraj said, "Lord taught me about Florida crackers."
Don't forget, we got the crackers first.
I will say one. I don't know who in 2026 can afford to shop at Publix. Like I'm.
Wait, hold on. What they charging y'all?
Publix is like Whole Foods light. Like it's very much.
It was cheap when I went in Nashville last week. I'm not gonna hold you.
Nah, I'll go in there for a pub sub, a little sub sandwich every now and then. But groceries,
I bought some groceries, and the protein shakes there were cheaper than the ones here that I buy at the store. I'm not gonna hold you, but it also could be where you are, because someone did tell me that the prices are different in different regions. Because I have bought groceries at the Nashville joint, and it wasn't a lot. But when I lived in Atlanta and bought groceries at that joint, I said, this is expensive. And that was like 2-3 years ago. Yeah. But I also have a weird diet, so it could be what I'm buying, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, the only other option is Kroger or Target, so I don't have many other options.
Yeah. I will also say two things. One, in the chat, someone said Florida also had the most lynchings per capita. That is true, but the most lynchings per volume was Mississippi, and I do think Mississippi gets left out of every single conversation. It is the blackest state. It has remained the blackest state. It was the epicenter in many ways, the Black Belt, and so I do think like we can't obscure Mississippi and all of this. And then two, someone else. Damn, I done lost the comment. Two. A-Rob, I'm trying to find your email because I'm trying to reach out to you for something. Okay, A-Rob. So if you in the chat and you listening, you don't got to put your email in the chat, but let me know where I can find it.
Message on Instagram.
No, don't do that. My Instagram's private. Don't do that.
Oh, you can't do that?
No, don't do that. But if you could tell me in a direction where I could find it, that'd be cool. I didn't want to derail the convo, but yeah.
So I think the part about Mississippi, like I feel like when I'm in Jackson, it seemed like why ain't try to build what y'all think Atlanta is in Jackson? Like what? And then I know the people like, well, the city or whatever, but then like when I'm in Costa Rica, I'm like, bro, like you're riding up mountains and then there's just plop a fucking city here, and then it's like it's something that you can create if you want to create. So the excuses that people make for not building something is what I think of when I think of Mississippi for whatever reasons. One, to get left out, but two, it's like if you really wanted to build some shit, going back to maybe even the Black Belt thing that we have in the joint.
Yeah.
Have you even really considered these places and
options?
Yeah. So
I want to bring up the super chats to make sure we acknowledge those. A-Rob sent one and said, Geechee, I joined Diallo and Skip's live 2 weeks ago, and I have new respect for you and Jab. Most exhausting 10 minutes of my life.
I did hear that. I heard that exchange. I heard that.
I didn't hear it. What happened?
Someone sent that exchange to me and said, I need you to hear this because they know how I feel about that topic. So that's actually hilarious.
Oh, Lord.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's you. Yeah, it's a training course too.
Also, thank you, Janine, for the $10. We appreciate you.
Definitely. Thank you very much.
I think there was another one. I can't see it now.
Did we miss
Might
it?
have-
All right, might have been.
Might have missed it. I'll try to find it later. But we appreciate y'all.
It's 3. Stono or the other one.
Oh, okay.
She put that 5 on it.
Period.
That's how you know she's from
Y'all still
Charleston.
have time to put more 5s on it.
Listen, that's how you know she's from Charleston. She put 5 on it. They already know.
That's so funny. We could definitely go into a lot of the topics we talked about today in more depth, but I know Musa's time is limited. We might want to switch gears. Amber, I know you gonna walk the dog. You gonna walk our boy.
Yeah, we're probably gonna go for a run. The fact that he's laid out right now, sleeping with his tongue sticking out. I gotta take a picture real quick. That might be living his best life.
You gonna wake him up from the nap. That's what my partner did to me. It was a terrible experience.
This shit's so funny to me. He be really sleeping. Like, that man is really knocked out.
That's my boy.
Nigga tongue sticking out. His tongue sticking out a little bit. Let me know he knock.
Oh no, I have a organizing event to do tomorrow. And before you go, what you got for the people? I was gonna try to take a nap like that.
I'm screaming. I don't have anything going on. Oh, there's a like a group of like I would say like Black millennial folks who are throwing a party tomorrow for Black History Month that I'm gonna go to. He definitely drooling Maggie. I'm over it. It's called Groovement Sessions. They're trying to host these things in between hood raves. So they have this event called Hood Rave, which is like a rave for niggas. And they're trying to host stuff in between that. So they're having this Groovement Session thing that I think I'm gonna go to. I'm gonna try. It started at 10 p.m. I really want to go though. Why they couldn't do a day party, I don't know. But I really want to go to that. Other than that, I don't have anything planned. Just hanging out with my dog while he live his best life.
Well, we appreciate you. Enjoy that. And thank you for Amber's approach today. It was excellent, truly.
Of course. I'm so glad y'all liked it. I wasn't sure. You know, I'm always second guessing everything. But I'm so glad that it was helpful, beneficial. And if people in the chat have other stuff y'all want me to talk about, you can, you know, always send it in the chat, send it to Lord, whatever. I'm always down, usually, as long as it's something I for sure know how to talk about. If I'm unsure, I'm going to be like, nah.
Yep.
Oh, Revolutionary Women's Radio said, I just want to pet Amber's dog. His name is Mac, and he loves people. I do have a quick story. I had to go to the State House this week, and I had to leave my dog with my friend Monique because my dog sitter was at a resort for her birthday, which is cool. I love that for her. And she FaceTimed me. She was like, oh, my God, he's so well trained. I was like, yeah, what do you think was going to happen? Nigga, he live in a Black household. And then next day she called me. She said, does he know how to open doors? I was like, yeah, I told you this when I dropped him off. And she was like, yeah, I just walked in and he was just sitting there on the floor. He wasn't in the room with her dog, Penny. I was like, yeah, he ain't gonna destroy nothing, but he don't want to be trapped. He not used to that. So it was just always funny to me. She kept calling me throughout the day, like, oh my God, your dog is really like this. Like, he knows tricks and everything. I was like, yes, mind you, this is a person I talk to every day in our group chat. We're friends. We've been friends for like 6 years. And I literally tell her these things about him. I think she just didn't believe it because she didn't see it in person. And now she's seen it in person. She's like, oh, he's really like this. I was like, yes. He definitely thinks he's Brittany. Exactly. He thinks he's a people. He for sure thinks he's a little boy.
He thinks he's a people.
Yep. Well, yeah. I'm gonna share your email for follow up, Amber. But thank you very much. Appreciate you as always for coming through.
Of course. I'm so glad that folks appreciated it. I also thought that Revolutionary Women's Radio sent us $9.99. And let's make sure we keep amplifying and donating to organizations supporting Palestine. Period. Is the PS, the fist is at Black Power and Love? Or what does that mean?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's
trying to make sure.
Power and Love.
Period. All right, y'all. Yeah, let me go take my dog for a walk and get my little daily walk in. Peace, y'all.
All right. Peace.
So, Musa, you reached out because you wanted to discuss a subject. I am smiling, but it is a very serious topic regarding Epstein, the files. I really wanted to go through information we have and don't have, and I really appreciated how you were outlining that. So just want to give you the floor to start us off on this conversation.
Yeah, so I appreciate you having me. I really just reached out because I am somewhere in between disturbed and confused and a lot of different feelings about why people on the so-called left are honestly paying this Epstein files dust. And I have what I think is some answers for that. But I think there's a lot in this massive release of files that we actually should talk about, that also, if we as organizers are thinking strategically, that we can use like as weapons in our arsenal, that we actually should be using to help further politicize people. There's already a mass disillusionment with the ruling class, with the capitalist pigs, with the cracker capitalists. And this is just more weapons in our arsenal. And also to help understand the true disturbing depravity of these people, who so many of our people are worship, you know what I mean? And so we did cover on Rap Radio. Again, y'all, every Monday, 7 to 8 p.m. Y'all can tune in, WRFG.org, and listen to us. The radio still exists. It's the last non-commercial independent radio station in the South, the last one. So tune in. And so I just want to talk about Jeffrey Epstein, some of the top things that are in the files, and then talk a little bit about Michael Parenti, Chomsky, and conspiracy, and give some answers to why I think people are very afraid to even talk about this topic. The comment with A-Rob in the chat, that was actually what the situation with calling into Diallo's show was all about, the little back and forth. And so, yeah, if you want, I can just kind of start going into it and then let y'all respond. All right, so I think first off, I just want to kind of reiterate for folks who was Epstein, and what these, when people say the quote unquote Epstein files, what are they even talking about? Because if you're not like locked in on Twitter or getting like very specific niche independent media, there is a total media blackout on all of this. Compared, that's in the US, compared to many other countries like the UK, the Netherlands, now Germany, and several other countries, Australia, where you've literally had politicians being forced to resign, who are being investigated, some who have been arrested. Compare that to the US, and there's virtual silence. And so Jeffrey Epstein, just to remind folks, Jeffrey Epstein was a wealthy financier. He was a shady billionaire figure. There's a lot of mystery around how he actually got his fortune, but for the most part, it's extremely tied to the state of Israel and these very nefarious, shady dealings with people like Ehud Barak, the former PM of Israel. In 2008, he was convicted in Florida. He pled guilty to charges of procuring a child for prostitution and soliciting a minor, pedophilia, right? It's a PDF file, to say it in the appropriate social media way nowadays. But the reality is that 2008 trial, there was dozens upon dozens of children who were the victims, and there was a shady behind the door plea deal made that led him down to a extremely lesser trial. His social circle was the Western elites. So think of whatever top politician, business leader, billionaire, celebrities, royalty, whoever is the European elites for the most part, and then maybe a few Gulf Arabs mixed in there here and there. This is who Jeffrey Epstein was. He was a fixer. He connected people. He fixed people between institutions, relationships, social circles, and he got paid very handsomely to do so. And he was finally arrested. He had a global trafficking ring. And when we're talking global, we're not just talking hundreds of potential victims. We're talking in the thousands of potential victims, just so people can really understand the scale of this. And this is not coming from Musa's mind. I don't have a tinfoil hat on. This is the Department of Justice in their own documents, right? In 2019, he finally was arrested for this global trafficking ring. And then shortly after his arrest, he was found dead in a Manhattan jail cell, which, according to the DOJ's own documents that are now transparently released with heavy redaction, they have questions about that as well, but I'm gonna get off that high horse. And so Donald Trump and the Department of Justice were essentially forced to disclose this trove of documents related to Epstein because of the Epstein Files Transparency Act, the December of 19th of last December. It wasn't until January 30th that they fully decided to release them, and they just released a tiny percentage of them. So there's hundreds of terabytes of documents and video and photo evidence, but they released about 3 million files, a very small files that were also heavily redacted. Some of the top names that appear in these files, Donald Trump's name appears in these files and being investigated, witness statements, affidavits, court documents, and filings. More than Jesus's name appears in the Bible, literally. This also includes Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Peter Thiel, the UK's now former Prince Andrews, Bill Clinton, heavily found in these documents, Elon Musk, many people who previously denied having any connections to Epstein's. We now know that their names are in there hundreds of times. Jay-Z is mentioned in there. In one email exchange where they are talking about a uprising taking place in the favelas of Brazil, someone says, you know, why are they not protesting here in the US like that? And the person who Epstein's corresponding with says, because they've all been bought off by Jay-Z, driving around in nice cars with hot white women. That's what the email says, right? And so that's just the big overview. But I want us to really understand that it is very rare that we get, from the standpoint of both the journalist and the historian, it is really rare that we get 3 million plus email exchanges and documented evidence. And even as heavily redacted as it is, that gives us often pure, unfiltered insight into how the most powerful people in the world are talking about us, how they are thinking about us, the power moves they are making, and the eugenics, the white supremacists, Jewish supremacists, and that's not anti-Semitic, this is in their own words, power moves that they are making in order to dictate and amass capital and amass power and carry out their whims. And so I'll stop there. I just wanted to give like a big overview of like, this is not just some silly side thing people on Twitter are talking about. This is not for crazy so-called conspiracy theorists. This is actually something we should be taking seriously with some investigation, and then thinking like, if I know everyone in my neighborhood already doesn't trust the government, and now we have literal documents from the government themselves showing us even more why we shouldn't trust the government. If we on the left don't talk about this and don't get behind this and like provide analysis for it, people will instead go to the right. They're instead going to go to the Alex Jones, to the Joe Rogan, to the far right wing, who are never afraid to talk about any concepts of conspiracy. So we will do ourselves a disservice to continue acting as if this is something insignificant or too taboo to talk about.
Thank you for that overview, the grounding. I think you contextualize it very well. You gave us numbers because I think sometimes it feels overwhelming and you're not sure what is the size and scale of this thing. So I just appreciated that. A resource I shared in the chat, I know Jared's been talking about it a while, it's jmail.world. I know a lot of times with this information, it's that you get so much information dumped on you at once that it's hard for the average person to even sit down and sort through it. And then even when you do, you don't know how to organize it, how to find it. So I shared this resource because it verifies a lot of what you said. It's Jmail. It was a tool designed like your Gmail, where you can just go in and search different things from the files as email. So for example, the thing you just mentioned, bought off by Jay-Z, I'm just going to put those keywords in. And then right here, the email from Just Staley. You want to know why we are not Sao Paulo? Watch the TV ads on the Super Bowl. It's about hip blacks and hip cars with white women. The group that should be in the streets has been bought off by Jay-Z. So that's Just Staley, Blue Mountain Capital. So I just want people to be able to follow up on what Musa is describing here. And this is one resource for doing that.
So I'm curious, like when you think about, and you started off with not knowing how to feel about the responses, you know, confused, afraid. And I'm thinking about conversations that has been had, be it about Epstein or not about Epstein, about the people in it, but not about the people in it. And then like that shit that happened on Black Liberation Media with Jackie.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't really, and protecting like all that dumb shit, right? And I like how you talked about like how this thing could be used and how he's functioned. Like people say he's the realization of a deep state or whatever. Like what could you kind of speak more to that, or like his function, and then maybe go into, as comfortable as you are, what do you feel, how are you narrating what you're seeing when you say confused or afraid? Like what are you seeing and experiencing?
Yeah, well, so I think the first thing, there's a lot of things, a lot. I mean, it's 3 million files. So to Lorik's point, they actually, again, broke their own disclosure protocol. So any investigative journalist will tell you there's actually protocols for categorization, which were not held whatsoever. So we're not supposed to receive 3 million files that are completely no categorization whatsoever. That's just to intentionally make it really hard to go through those files. That's why it's been a month and some change, and we're still every week finding new pieces in these documents. So there's that part. So a complete breach of protocol. Second, I think that the point is not necessarily whether or not we will get accountability and consequences for US leaders, because we can suspect we will not. We should assume we will not, right? The point to exploit is that we will not get any consequences, even though it is literally the FBI and the DOJ's own words saying people are doing these crimes. So there's that. The third thing is, and I do have to bring up Chomsky, who is named in the Epstein files many times, to the exchange you mentioned, Geechee. I actually do think it's extremely, extremely nefarious that Chomsky, one of the most influential social scientists in the Western Hemisphere. I know maybe for our generation nowadays, we don't fully comprehend Chomsky's influence, his meteoric rise to fame. And it's because we repeat his work without even knowing where it came from. That's how influential this man is. And he spent a very strong portion of his career. Mind you, this is someone who used to live in the Zionist entity of Israel himself. So we should start there. And let's always start there. He spent a very strong portion of his career, once he shifted from linguistics to more outright politics, disparaging the notion of conspiracy. He said that anything that could even slightly resemble a conspiracy, we have to abandon it, right? When you hear nuance mongers, people who say they have to add nuance to everything. So you're just like, no, I don't support Iran. Of course, Iran is a horrible, bad place, but I also don't support imperialism in Iran. Oh, of course, I have my criticisms of China, but that is literally Chomsky's influence. Chomsky is the original nuance monger. He made this into a form. And so for Chomsky himself to do all of these years disparaging anything that could potentially resemble a conspiracy, only to have his name wrapped up in perhaps the largest human trafficking operation to be exposed in human history since chattel slavery, is an extremely, extremely relevant point. And so, that's how I'm approaching it. I think a lot of people are children of Chomsky who don't realize it, and who don't realize the damaging effects of that influence. And so, and even to the point of like, I sent you an excerpt, and maybe we don't have to pull it up now, but from Parenti. Michael Parenti has a 1996 book that is all about the notion of conspiracy. And Parenti responds very directly to Chomsky several times throughout the book. And mind you, I've been a Chomsky hater for about a decade. So it's not like I found these files and then suddenly it was like, oh my God, I didn't know Chomsky. No, like this man is an outright anti-communist. We should have never let that slide to begin with. But Parenti's whole point, and I've really taken note of this over the years, is that the category of conspiracy and conspiracy theory has become a captured category, and it's an umbrella. And when anyone is put underneath this umbrella, it is a strong tool and weapon to disparage, to discredit, right? So Parenti's whole thing is like, when capitalists have plans, they meet and they conspire probably in a room together over tea and coffee, and then they enact those plans. That is not a crazy conspiracy. That is literally how the world around us has been shaped. You see what I'm saying? And so the problem is, because over the decades, people have been disabused of anything resembling conspiracy at all, we have now conceded all of that ground to the far right wing, anti-vaxxer, chemtrails. Like we've conceded that to the craziest and wildest edges of what we could see as conspiracy. But in reality, if politicians in Atlanta or Durham are having closed door meetings with developers to make sure their friends make millions of dollars, or if you have Noam Chomsky providing PR advice on how to get over PDF file allegations to one of the richest billionaires in the country, that is a conspiracy. But because, again, we have this historical framing now that is dominant of conspiracy, people don't want to touch it. People want to walk away from it. They want to, So, anyways, I'll stop there.
Man, listen, I there's a other thing that happened to me, connecting some dots. But as you kept talking, I was like, damn, yo wrote a book about manufacturing consent. And if you a nuance monger, then you're actually is complicit with manufacturing. You are helping, man. You are doing it, but you're convincing people you're telling the truth, and you're not doing it because you're calling it out. But you're literally part of, like, you're the gate on the left. And so it's like, and it's interesting for me how, interacting with people who defend that person like that. I don't know. It's like sometimes you can, I guess, study somebody or read or whatever, and your intentions behind studying might be like to learn something, or mean to like follow it and use it as a blueprint for how you engage with people. Like, I mean, so yeah.
And also, it's not about one individual person. It's not about Chomsky, the individual, Epstein, the individual. It's about the system operating and the system of logic, which is being used to disavow critical thinking and investigation skills, right? So we can look historically at COINTELPRO, the counterintelligence program, which spied on, assassinated, incarcerated, framed, lied about, et cetera, literally hundreds, primarily of Black, African, and Puerto Rican nationalists and revolutionary organizers in the US. Panthers were called crazy conspiracy theorists. They were said, you are out of your mind. You think you're so important that the US is spying on you? You think you're so important they're tapping your calls? What is wrong with you? It wasn't until activists broke into an FBI office with the plan of destroying draft papers and stumbled upon documentation of COINTELPRO that this became fact. And then they tried to share this with the media. The media would not publish it. The media said, this seems like it could endanger federal agents. And it was literally activists. Dr. Akindele Amoja talks about this. It was like him, Afeni Shakur, and others who literally went neighborhood to neighborhood to educate about COINTELPRO, to build enough momentum for it to then become a national conversation and be accepted as common fact now, 40, 50 years later. So and then, okay, one other point too, we can't exceptionalize this. We have to dialectically understand it, right? Europeans being a PDF file, doing extreme violence is in, if we look at things historically, is European nature at this point, right? In France, the most famous paint color in France was called mummy brown, because when they were raiding Egypt, they would steal the bodies of mummies and then bring it back to France, grind it into paint, and use it as their paint color, or they would have salons where they would consume the body. This isn't to like have shock value. It's just to say we're exceptionalizing something that is literally in their nature. And we now have 3 million documents to help us further confirm this.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And Nuhu to Dawn sending something similar. It's not about one evil person. It's a manifestation of the decadence of the capitalist system in its imperialist state. 100%. This just looks like capitalism and colonialism to me. I think Dr. CBS, shout out, always says, believe our own analysis. So a lot of it to me was like, okay, you say it's a settler colony. Okay, you're recognizing what's going on in Palestine, but have you fully embrace what that means on a day-to-day basis. If you're saying this is what's happening in Palestine, to me, it is the same. I do not see a difference between the Palestinian struggle and the Black struggle in the US. What I see being done to our kids is what I see being done over there. And so it does not surprise me when the security guard is touching on Black girls at the school. Yeah, I fucking know, because the Zionists are doing that in Palestine. This is not a mystery, but it does take a lot. It is exhausting. It is change your entire consciousness around how you interact on a day-to-day basis. But one thing I did want to add is you're talking about the individuals within a collective. So we can focus on them and how they represent the whole in a lot of ways. And so I do focus on the personal being political and the political economy around Chomsky. So to me, although a lot of people are coming out and they have these deeper personal relationships with this man, and so it's a bigger betrayal for them, it was just a basic job function for me. This is a tenured professor at MIT. So when this person then comes and says, conspiracy in the US, like you're saying, what are you talking about? Repression on campus, on my campus? When he says that, I just want people to see, after he goes on screen and says that, or says Aaron Swartz was a criminal and the police did nothing wrong in their investigation, he goes to his bank account, his direct deposit hits, and it's for $7,500 or more. I just want people to know this, right? Because I think it makes it real clear for our people that direct deposit is what it takes you 3 months to get. We're saying this shit. So there's a very clear incentivized reason he has for explaining why conspiracies aren't a real thing and minimizing these things. He is a tenured professor. So when we talk about his organization, because again, what was the contributions to the left? I'm like, what org did he leave behind? What revolutionaries has he produced? His organization, if we are to be clear, is MIT.
It's MIT. MIT, which is known to be the world's top developer of weapons technologies that is literally destroying the colonized world. And that's not to say perhaps every single professor at MIT is guilty of that, but it is, to your point, what organization and organizing history and what actual work are we discussing when we're talking about Chomsky? And what are his associations? He's associated to literally one of the most evil academic institutions in the US. So why is it such a far stretch to then think maybe he's not a good person?
And to your point, he's their star player. He's their franchise player. He's Steph Curry of MIT. Like, this is not some red bench.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, again, Inventing Reality was already out. Look, the manufacturer almost felt plagiarized. But this is why I say that people got to read Marx and Yurugu. Marimba Ani and Yurugu. I mean, when you read Yurugu, you gotta skip over her Marx part. Don't listen to what she got to say. But skip that part. But just read Yurugu and Marx, and it's like they talk about the same fucking people, right? So,
yeah, I would say too, folks should really, to your point. So Michael Parenti's Inventing Reality, which came out a few years prior to Manufacturing Consent, there are people who have done some really good historical work to show that perhaps Chomsky wrote Manufacturing Consent to be a mainstream version of Inventing Reality with wildly different political takeaways. Having read both, I tend to lean towards that persuasion, but people can go on YouTube and there's actually someone who reads every chapter of Inventing Reality out loud for free. It's a great audiobook to listen to it. But I did want to just name a few of the top revelations so far that are in these files. Again, there's millions of files, so this is not all inclusive at all. You could literally do hours upon hours of talking about this stuff. But I think a big one is that Mossad, which is the Zionist state of Israel's equivalent to the CIA, more or less. The Mossad connections have been essentially confirmed that Epstein was either an Israeli spy or working on behalf of Mossad. He, in his own words, says that. Ehud Barak says that. His close confidant and lawyer, Alan Dershowitz, who is also implicated in PDF file behavior in these files, is a known Mossad connection. And so despite the media, the US, specifically the US media, trying to very quickly claim he was a Russian spy, he couldn't have been a Russian spy because he struggled to get a Russian passport and he was having trouble even getting into Russia, let alone and he himself is calling himself an Israeli spy, right? there is an air that people are very scared and don't want to talk about of eugenicists, but with like a Jewish flavor. He's calling all non-Jews goyim, and he is basically saying Jewish people, European Jews specifically, are the elite people in the world. And then he's enacting that vision by funding extreme medical experiments with shady researchers through Harvard institutions. Trump is all up in these files, as I said earlier, as well as Melania. The Melania connection, actually, it looks like Melania might have actually known Epstein before even knowing Trump, and might have met Trump at an Epstein party. Make of that what you want. But they, some of the top modeling agencies in the world have been implicated. And we now know that the owners, the white men who own some of the top modeling agencies in the world, particularly in France, are what looks like very likely involved allegedly in sex trafficking models, many of whom have accused modeling agency execs of sexual assault and violence. What you might have seen is across the pond in the UK Parliament and politics are in full disarray. They are taking this much more seriously, at least in the US. You had Prince Andrew, who is no longer a prince. He's been kicked out of the colonial royal family. Whoop-de-doo, whoop-de-doo. But this is a big deal because this is the first time a sitting member of the royal family was arrested. This is the first time we've really seen someone kicked out for the kind of degradations that their family has been involved in for literally centuries at this point. And now they have just, as of this week, agreed to release all files related to Prince Andrews from their investigation to further investigation. You have Lord Peter Mandelson, who has been forced to resign, who's under criminal investigation for his involvement. And it's looking like, I'm looking with my journalistic eye, a confession of guilt will be coming soon. You have calls for Keir Starmer, the PM in the UK, to step down. Another violation of federal law and violation of the specific Epstein Files Release Act is the names of the perpetrators of the crimes have been redacted from the documents, while the names of many of the victims of the crimes, including photos of the victims, have not been redacted. So you can imagine the horror if you've gone through this horrible thing, you decide to speak out against some of the literal most powerful men in the world, and years later, these files come out sharing your full name, putting you in danger, having to relive that trauma. And then all of the perpetrators of these crimes, their names are redacted, right? I guess one other point too that I think is really just the icing on the cake, The Atlantic. Y'all know The Atlantic, it is a rag of a magazine, in my opinion, imperialist rag. It's very much like New York Times. I don't know why we ever got to pull them up on the Jumbotron on this channel. But The Atlantic, a few days after the Epstein file bombshell comes out, they released this article called, quote, "What Everyone Assumes About Jeffrey Epstein," claiming that the files prove that the idea that Epstein was blackmailing rich people is just like some made up idea based purely on speculation and conspiracy theories. And in the article, The Atlantic, and this is a high level reporter at The Atlantic, is downplaying all of these explosive allegations. Well, it just so happens that The Atlantic's owner is implicated in the Epstein files. Laurene Powell Jobs was named multiple times in the Epstein files, and in fact, allegedly is a very close friend of Ghislaine Maxwell. At the same time, The Atlantic's editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg, who many people are familiar with, was a former Israeli prison guard who admitted to torturing Palestinians during the first Intifada. So it kind of seems like The Atlantic would be invested in downplaying this Epstein file situation. And so I say all of this to say, I know I'm like ranting and rambling now, but again, if you're not in these very niche online journalistic spaces, the media is not covering any of this. You're not getting any information whatsoever. It is literally the most powerful people in the world involved in one of the largest human trafficking rings we've seen since chattel slavery. And there's what appears to be a blackmail schema in which Israeli spies are blackmailing US politicians who themselves, first and foremost, were willingly engaging in acts against humanity. That's at the baseline how I could explain it.
And that's a very clear and helpful explanation for us to use. And I know you're talking about the left, so specifically in how we contextualize this. I appreciate that. I shared the article. I also, again, back to that resource, I immediately type in Powell Jobs. Do you have Jobs' email, Jeffrey Epstein, on November 30th of 2015. So just, again, this can all be verified. It's the fun of the conspiracy theories on the left where we just have massive evidence and are being blacked out by corporate media. But yeah.
And then also too, I see A-Rod put in the chat there, the emails confirm that Epstein was either a large donor or on the board of multiple schools, boarding schools, was funding and had an OBGYN, multiple medical professionals, including an OBGYN, on essentially retainer for his purposes, who knows what for, adoption agencies that he was involved in, that he funded. I mean, it gets very dark. It goes very deep. And some of the connections, I think we're going to literally be finding out for weeks and months to come. But what I want people's biggest takeaway to be is when you hear people talking about these files and you hear people at the gym, at the hair salon, wherever, who are like, we can't trust anybody. The government is horrible. They're all evil. If you are not there and aware and prepared, I like rhyming today, to help people understand it from a perspective of the left, of the Pan-African left, like, yes, you can look at the history of the degradation of the African to understand, yes, this is in their nature. Yes, this is how capitalism works. Walter Rodney said it is a system of thievery, bribing, cheating, swindling, and scandaling, right? And so we have to be prepared to like respond to that disillusionment for the purposes of drawing people into the left, you know?
But tell me also what you've been seeing, because I also see like on social media, I heard nobody say it. You know who ain't in those Epstein's files? Not Obama or whatever. Like what have you been seeing in general, but also even maybe it's more frustrating efforts from the left as it pertains to this thing?
Well, that's funny because Obama, his name might not have yet been discovered in these files. However, his bestie, Richard Branson, who we can see photos of them chopping it up on a yacht, looking real comfortable together, is all up and down those files. And several of the white elite businessmen who he pals around with are in these files. So I don't think that's the argument. Obama's several of Obama's key staff are actually apparently extremely leaked to Epstein based on these files and the analysis. So I think first off, let's like,
I don't see that. I'm Ray Charles. I don't see that.
Also, I'm gonna be honest, whether you're in the files or not, I think bombing literal weddings and school buildings is also a pretty inadmissible action. But to your point, to your question, what I've been seeing, I will say I have been seeing no conversation about it. I have been seeing when it has been brought up here and there. I was having a conversation with some friends the other day in the barbershop. My barber he got decent politics, you know, and because there's a deficit of critical analysis around this, it is now affirming some of the wildest conspiracies he has. Like because this feels like it is a publicly acknowledged conspiracy, quote unquote, and only the sort of far right wing is talking about it. He then is like, yeah, see, and now people look at me like I'm crazy when I say there's a portal to Africa at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. And we're the original natives. And he brought it back to original natives, you see, literally. And so I was able to intervene and talk with him we were talking for my whole haircut about it. And he was like, okay, yeah. But I think in the deficit of critical analysis, people are going to fill it in with whatever is the hegemonic, the mainstream, the dominant, which is right wing, right? And so there's that. I also think like we have to be very self-critical. Do we have investigation skills? Do we? And the answer might be yes for a lot of us. It might be no. It might be I'm not sure. You know, like Amber was just talking about with Tyree Nichols in that situation. Amber had to do a lot of investigation to know what the local ordinances, the local laws, to know who those, she found the police officers' information herself. I think this should also be a wake-up call that, like, let's go ahead and think about what kind of investigation skills might we be lacking, and we might need to actually really think about. Are there journalists and investigative journalists in our organizations who can teach us some skills? Are there skills that we need to sit down and workshop together? Because you can have critical thinking without investigation, and then you just sitting there, as Renee said, twiddling your thumbs and eating bonbons. And so that's a big question that arose for me. Is I'm also like, I think people see 3 million files and don't know where to start. And it's, so anyways, yeah, that's a few thoughts.
You know that I know we didn't get to it, but when I was prepared to talk about like the Steinman, if that's her name correctly, the
Gloria Steinman.
Yeah, about her being a CIA operative, but I was reading something that says like someone whose activism, however sincere on the surface, served establishment interests more than radical ones. And then I'm like, well, to your point about being trained and whatever, like how do we even measure that? Like, you know, like you could talk about this, you know, this lady and how she was co-opted, but at this time, like how do you measure, like when you say somebody looks like they're doing the work on the surface, like do you even know them personally? Have you did work with them on the ground? And a lot of times in these spaces, like everybody kind of know of each other, but nobody don't really know the work that, you know, that is being done. And so it's like, yeah, it's one to say, oh, this operative had us doing this thing, but how do you even measure like in the capacity to say that this person is this thing, or this person matched their politics? So whenever you think about like all these, you know, political analysis, like your policies would have to kind of be exposing your practice.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Musa,
I think.
Sorry, I know you got to go soon.
I know, right? But this is like my
my sorry. Go ahead.
Look, I just also want to say too to people to really, I recommend reading that 1996 book by Parenti on conspiracy. Phenomenal book. You know, like when the CIA spent literal decades arming former Cubans who were extremists to go and invade Cuba. This is a documented history. The Bay of Pigs investigation, Operation Northwoods, the bombing of a Cuban airliner that killed 73 people. There was a conspiracy involved. You had political leaders who reached out to individuals who trained them at Fort Benning in Georgia and made plans with them that were then enacted. So we really need to deconstruct whatever it is that puts a hurdle between us and investigation. And if that is this notion of conspiracy, perhaps we should just rethink our relationship to that whole notion altogether.
Absolutely. And then perfect transition. I was just going to say I have the screenshots you shared from Parenti talking about these folks on the left, or normally identified as left, kind of dismissing conspiracy theory. And I did want to shout out to your point about investigation, to something I often hear left out, specifically in liberal organizing spaces. It's about the tradition you draw from, right? That is what, to me, in organizing 101 is that you're inheriting something that already existed. You are not reinventing the wheel. And this is so important to the Pan-African consciousness, so important to socialist and communist consciousness. But I see it often left out. So for me, again, with Chomsky, I'm just like, I don't necessarily know what tradition you're pulling from, and it just does not align with mine. To your point about what I was getting from his work, which I did read, I had already gotten it from Malcolm, or to Amber's point about Black women are the best investigators on the planet, Ida B. Wells. And I know for a fact people haven't studied Ida B. Wells to the extent that these people who have read Chomsky studied him. And so that's where I keep coming from. In our own tradition, there's so much wealth from investigative journalism like Ida B. Wells that when people are like, where do I start? How did she start? Because she came from the same position you did as a Black woman, or honestly, probably worse in some way. Right. So that was mine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even you think about like my gold star, Walter Rodney. If you read Walter Rodney's book on the Russian Revolution, he spends more time talking about, you know, how, for example, he has a whole subchapter about how the Harvard School of Russian Studies was planted by the CIA and all the professors and CIA agents whose sole job is just to propagate lies about the USSR. He spends a whole subchapter on that. And that's like the theme throughout half of the book. It's not even actually about the Russian Revolution. It's about all the distortions of the history. And so all of our faves spend a lot of time, and I'm including not just journalists, but historians. Like a good historian is a kind of investigative journalist, if you really think about it. We have to combat distortions. And how else do you do that than rigorous investigation and being fearless? Like I saw someone who was like, oh, you should stop talking about Epstein before they come and get you. Listen, y'all. Maybe I'm a small fish to fry. I don't know, but I don't think like not talking about something is the correct answer. But yeah, the lineage is always the most important. You know what I mean? And shout out Ida B. Wells, because Ida does not get. I would say Ida B. Wells and Sophia Bukhari did two of the same things. They went and documented what no one else would document, what everyone else was too afraid to document. Sophia Bukhari saw her comrades being assassinated and incarcerated all around her. No one was documenting it. She went state to state, prison to prison to document it. That's why when you read her book, The War Before, you have this long list at the end of all of her comrades who were murdered or incarcerated. That did not exist before she was courageous enough to do that work.
Yep. So I think that's a great end to the what do we do that usually comes in these conversations. Lineage, investigate emancipatory journalism. How has it existed throughout history? How do you get started? How do you build with platforms like Black Liberation Media? So definitely want to shout you out, Musa. Of course, you know you have an open door to this platform and to Fridays in particular. Is there anything you wanted to share with the people? I'm going to put that Mixcloud link to y'all's podcast, which was excellent, so people can check out the analysis on Parenti and other things. But any other projects?
Yeah, I did just put the Parenti book, the name of it, in the chat. It's Dirty Truths, Reflections on Politics, Media, Ideology, Conspiracy, Ethnic Life, and Class Power. You can find it for free PDF online. But I do want to shout out two things. One, y'all should tune in every Monday, wherever you are. You don't got to be in Atlanta to listen. WRFG.org/rap. We have one of the best radio programs in the country, if I do say so. It's much better than the Breakfast Club. And then two, BAP Atlanta, along with Friends of the Congo, Community Movement Builders, and AAPRP, All African People's Revolutionary Party, are hosting a Black History Month event this Saturday, tomorrow, 4 p.m. It's called The History of Black Atlanta, Myth versus Reality. It's going to be a really dope time. I'm trying to think. Oh, also, we're back on the Groundings podcast. Me and my co-host Artricia just released an episode with Augustus Woods talking about class warfare in Black Atlanta. One of my favorite interviews we've done so far. So check that out. Again, that's the Groundings podcast. And big love to Black Liberation Media. We got some big stuff coming up. Big up to Ear Doctor, to Kamal, to the whole crew, Jackie, everyone.
Thank you very much. Geechee, I see you. Okay, you back. Can you
popcorn.
What you got? I dropped the links to the events in the chat. They'll also be in our show description. As I always say, check the show description for our run sheet, and you'll find these links there as well.
Yeah, nothing much tenant stuff, and working on imperialism speaker series with Andrew at Morehouse. So focusing on that, getting those dates right. Got to reach out to BAP to do a joint one eventually. So yeah, I'll be working on that this weekend.
Word. And for me, shout out Black Men Build. Please visit our YouTube channel. I always say that. Let me just pull it up so people can go. We had an excellent Theory Thursday on Pan-Africanism and socialism. What is their relationship, so that our folks on the ground feel confident in claiming those labels, those ideologies. And we have plenty more. So you can see a lot of the folks on this platform who are alumni. Musa is an alumni on an excellent Walter Rodney Mass call. So just want to shout out Black Men Build, our recent Theory Thursday on Pan-Africanism. And then yesterday we were joined by Dr. Layla Babasundiata and Eugene Puryear to discuss that again in our mass call. So just want to shout out Black Men Build. Locally, I got this People's Movement Assembly. Shout out a lot of great organizers. Max Ramo will be here, but I just want to mention that. I'll be teaching a workshop. This is our fight. Black Men Bill will be tabling there, and that will be tomorrow, all day long at the Freedom Lab Miami. So check that out. This is our City People's Movement Assembly tomorrow. If you're in Miami, come through. That's all I got. I appreciate y'all. We did overtime today. Tap back in for Darker Than Blue. Jackie, Luke Mon. Tune in to Saturdays with Renee. Lawrence Grand Prix is going to be a great crossover episode. And catch all of our programming and our affiliate programming with Black Liberation Media. As Jared says, as Fred Hampton used to say, and as we say, peace. We're in the fight for it, and we'll catch you next time.
Peace.
Black Liberation Media is a collective of Black and African organizers, journalists, academics, and media personalities serving Black and African masses seeking to further grow in their understanding of themselves, their histories, and the African world through entertainment and news. Please continue to like, subscribe, and donate to the channel so we can further serve you and liberate our people. You can also go to blkliberationmedia.org, get some merchandise, and also become a Patreon member and a member from the YouTube. Please do what you can, share, and show your love as we will show ours for you. Black Liberation Media.